Let's bring this meeting to order. Rhonda, is there any addition to the agenda? Closed session?
Chairman, we don't have any additions. However, I need to let you know that under closed session, items 2B, 2C, 2D, and 2E are being removed from the agenda per staff request. Items here, real property negotiator items. Items 2B as in boy, 2C as in cat, 2D as in dog, and 2E as in elephant.
All being removed?
Yes, sir.
Which one? Okay. County Council, will you read the items that we're going to be discussing in closed session?
Yes, Chairman. There's conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The county negotiators are Adrian, Caleb, and Ken Caves, and the employee organization are all units. There's existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1, Madera County Farm Bureau versus the County of Madera. There's a public employee appointment employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The title position is Director of Child Support Services. There's a public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The title of the position is County Administrative Officer, and also one for the Chief Clerk of the Board.
Any comments on these items from the public? If not, let's go into closed session. County Council, do we have anything to report?
Chairman, members of the board, in the interest of creating an accurate record, Supervisor Wheeler was not in attendance for a portion of the closed session discussion, and it is also clear that Supervisor Poitras is not in attendance. With that said, there were no reportable actions from closed session.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah.
Invocation by Supervisor Dave Rogers and Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, she's here.
Brett Frazier, please stand.
Join me in prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day, beautiful sunshine and the good weather and all the good things that you provided for us. We thank you for the prosperity of this county, the continued provision of water and all of the things we need to do to sustain life. We thank you for that. Your gifts are perfect and good. We ask a blessing upon those people who are suffering right now with the fire in Mariposa County. And we pray your protection over them and over all that are involved, both human and the animals that are in the forests. And we thank you for your protection and your guidance through all things. We ask your wisdom in our deliberations today, that we might do what is good and right in your sight. And we thank you for those young men and women in foreign fields of battle, that they might be protected. Help them to know they're loved at home. Help us to know how to provide best for their needs. And we thank you for our country. We pray that our flag may wave in honor as a citadel and a beacon of hope for the world to see, and it may always remain free. These blessings we ask in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Please join me in saluting our flag. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have anyone we want to open and close in memory of? Supervisor Frazier?
Not in memory. I just wanted to wish Monty Pistresi listening at home a happy birthday. Today is Monty's birthday. So, happy birthday, Monty.
Happy birthday, Monty.
Happy birthday.
Absolutely, my friend.
Okay. Dave, you like to make a presentation?
Is that next? Okay. Yeah, good morning. This morning we have two individuals that have excelled in this county beyond what you could imagine. And also their instructor, their teacher, Bill Turner, is here with them this morning. I want to recognize them. Danelli Centillion, and then also Samantha Easton. And I'd like for them to come up. We're going to take pictures with them. These young ladies have won the National Middle School Championship in Informative Speaking 2017, the National Speech and Debate Championships. And Samantha Easton was a semifinalist in Impromptu Speaking in the 2017 National Speech and Debate Championships. So we want to recognize these two ladies. Let's give them a round of applause. Bill, come on up. This is their teacher, Bill Turner. Also himself a collegiate national champion debate and speech winner. We're very proud to have him in Chester. You do it back there? She's a mom, so we've got to give mom a deference. It's a special, very special thing. It's an amazing thing. You know, it's hard enough to win something at a local level, but on a national level to do what these girls have done, they're great people. Putting that forward a great effort. It's always a blessing to have great people who appreciate things. Thank you. Good. Do you have something you want to say about the girlfriend? Speak.
Impromptu speaking.
See how good he is.
Take some notes. Okay.
Yeah.
Four years ago, I started this journey in Chowchilla where we began the speech and debate program with a certain group of kids, and at the time, these young ladies were in 5th grade. And now that they are here in 8th grade, and we've had the chance to really see them grow over the years, it was a remarkable achievement. They went all across California, up to the Bay Area, down to the Los Angeles area, and won competition after competition. And so we were one of the only public schools in the competition. And when you're up there against prep schools and private schools that have unlimited budgets, it's a real challenge. And a lot of people were just surprised to see us. We seemingly came out of nowhere. But a couple people who were not surprised to see us there were those 2 young ladies. They knew that if they worked hard enough, they could accomplish anything. And I think that when you look at what they've been able to put together, going all the way to the national championships, one student making it to semifinals, one student winning it, when we're one of the only public schools in the competition, it tells you that no matter how tough times seem, if you want it bad enough and you work hard bad enough, in this country you can still chase down your dream. And that's what impresses me most about these girls, and that's what makes getting up every day to be a teacher worth it. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm just glad I don't have to worry about them running against me in District 1.
Yeah. No kidding. They better work out. Huh?
They can take my place any day.
Number 4, public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county of residence for the record.
Dale Drozen, Fresno County resident. That's a hard act to follow. I was going to start off with the landfill operation, but I had talked to one of your staff and was told there's going to be a workshop on that in the near future, so I'll hold anything on that. Speaking of workshops, there was a study done in 2008, Madera County Capital Improvement Plan. Cost taxpayers thousands of dollars. I was just wondering if we could have a workshop on that, and maybe the Citygate fire plan. Was done about the same time, costing us thousands of dollars, 3 volumes, to find out where they've gone, how many of the recommendations we've taken, how we've moved forward since they were made. I saw when you were doing your rebranding that the fire department portion of it, there was one of the notes in there was they needed funding for a study. We've got 3 volumes of study here on the fire department. I don't understand why we need more. And as long as I'm on rebranding, you can put as many coats of paint on the outhouse as you want, gold-plated hinges, but until you change what happens behind that door, you're not going to get the trust of the citizens. Closed session is about what's required to be in closed sessions, not what you can get away with doing in closed session. Everything needs to be in front of the public unless it's specifically required that it be in closed session. And that's not what's been happening here. We would like to see more of how our government works out in public. Thank you.
Anybody else? Bobby.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Bobby Kahn, Madera County Economic Development Commission. Just wanted to bring to your attention the Pacific Gas and Electric Economic Development Incentive Rate is going to be expiring the end of this year, and there is going to be a CPUC hearing coming up to ask them to extend that rate. There is a push by some ratepayers to have that rate canceled. It is a very good incentive for us to have. It offers a discounted rate over 5 years for businesses that are new coming into California. or businesses that are thinking about leaving, if we can retain them, we can offer that rate to them, and it can be up to 30% reduction in their rate over a 5-year period. I want to thank CAO Eric Fleming for responding to a request for a letter. He already has taken the initiative to send that letter, which we greatly appreciate. But what I wanted to encourage you was that there's going to be 2 public hearings, one in Bakersfield on August the 14th, and then one in Stockton on August the 16th. There'll be 2 hearings each day, one at 2 p.m. and one at 6 p.m. And we would really like to encourage someone from the county to testify at these hearings. The stronger presence that we have at these hearings, the stronger impression we're going to make on the PUC, and it's very important to us. Southern California, Edison is already throwing in the towel on their incentive rate, so if we can continue ours, it just gives this area an advantage. So with that, I'd just like to thank you for your time, and hopefully we can have someone present at these meetings. One other thing, I'm sorry, Supervisor Frazier, the locations have not been announced. I'll get that forwarded to your CAO as soon as I get the information.
Yeah, when I was the mayor, when this first got put in, I worked with Ashley Swearingen on trying to get this. It took a lot just to even get this put in. The people that would not be wanting it are people in the Bay Area, Southern California, because this actually helps our area. You know, the rate is for areas that have high unemployment, and as a way to attract businesses. When I know just last week at your meeting, Bobby, we talked about one of the biggest problems is that our energy rates are the highest in the nation right here, some of them. And so to be able to get some relief for these businesses that want to expand, or to keep them in California from going into Nevada or Texas, we desperately need this. So if I can have the times beforehand, I'll try and go down there. I don't know if I'll be able to make it though.
I'll forward it. They haven't announced the location. I'll forward it.
Do it to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to all of us. Send it to all, yeah.
Okay, item number 5, consent calendar.
No questions.
No questions on the board. Anybody from the public? None?
I'll move we approve the consent calendar and thank staff for getting that proposal out for MD 6 and 7.
Second.
Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent. 10 o'clock public hearing, 6A, Public Works Department, Capital Improvement Projects Division. Hearing to consider a resolution vacating a portion of publicly offered right-of-way known as the extension of Golden Ball Drive.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ahmad Al-Qiyad, Public Works Director. With me, Mr. Jared Carter, Deputy Director of Public Works. And we are here for a consideration of approval of a resolution of intent to vacate a portion of publicly offered right-of-way known as the extension of Golden Ball Drive, and set the date and time. So, I apologize. This is the hearing. Correct. So we're here for any questions.
Great presentation. Any questions on that?
I just got one.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah. This, you're just vacating this. Is this to do with that splitting more of that land behind it there? Is that the reason they don't need this right away there now? I tried to look at the maps. That don't give me enough area to figure it out. So.
Yes, Supervisor Wheeler. Jared with Public Works. The original offered roadway was done when that parcel was split into two. It now has the same owner. Both parcels are owned by the same owner. And so what they're asking for is to vacate that right-of-way. Essentially, it's their driveway. And a condition of the vacation will be that they record a easement across that parcel to the parcel behind it, so that it won't be
soft
landlocked.
rights that parcel, they don't go any further, so.
Correct.
I've seen that. So that piece behind them, they own that one too?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what I was worried about.
Yes.
Okay. It's okay then. That's all the questions.
Any other questions from the board? If not, I'll take it out to the public on this item. Not at all?
Yeah, we got one.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on the agenda item.
Would you speak into the mic, please?
You're speaking to Mike, your name and address.
All right.
Name and address?
My name is Matthew Hyatt, Hiatt. I'm from Placer County. Anyway, before I go over a brief history, I got the agenda item submittal that lists Agenda 6A, and I read through it. And on the last paragraph, it says there were no comments received in opposition of the requested vacation. And I was contacted about this, I think, as part of the application process from the Trip Trees through certified mail, of which I returned the certified mail and said that I do object. So I thought it was interesting. That didn't make it into the agenda item. So,
Did you do it in a timely manner? Was it done? How did you respond?
I responded that I object. And
Well, I mean, how did you respond?
Oh, through certified mail as well.
Oh, okay.
And it said on the application, I believe it said within 10 days of receiving the mail. So I immediately returned it via certified mail to her, because that's where it said to send it.
Okay.
And she's the party that put in this, I believe, this application from the get-go. So just a little bit of history. My dad, David Hyatt, purchased a adjoining property that's on the map there under the address is 50381 Road 426. It's APN 065-15-021. He purchased the property in 1998, approximately 19 years ago, from a gentleman from Clifford and Johnny Cates. When he was offered that property for sale, the marketing material that was provided during the sale was the actual map of 2593, and it clearly indicated that there was a 60-foot roadway dedicated to Madera County, irrevocably dedicated to Madera County. It clearly goes up to the property line of my dad's property.
What was your APN number on that again? I got the map here in front of me. So.
Yeah, it's the one 065-150-021. If you look at, I believe it's Exhibit B, which is the map.
Right, that's what I'm looking at, and that's when I asked about if they own that one parcel, that one.
I apologize. I misunderstood your question, Supervisor. The owners, the Trip Trees own Parcel 1 and Parcel 2, so that would be Parcel 033, where the roadway is across, or the offer is, and then the one that'd be west or east of it, 034.
So Hyatt's own the 021.
Correct.
Okay, and so that's not a right-of-way on the left there going off of 426 to it?
Yes, Supervisor, that is a public right-of-way, that 60-foot right-of-way, and our understanding and what we've seen is that there's access to that parcel 021 from that right-of-way.
Can I have more than 3 minutes?
No, you can talk more. I just wanted to get my brain set where you are.
We're interrupting you, so you have time.
So when my dad purchased the property, I do have a copy of the actual marketing material of 2593 that the guy who was selling it used to sell the property. He basically wrote the conditions on it when he sold it to my dad in 1989. So starting in 1989, when he purchased the property, he fully expected to have access to this irrevocable commitment to the county. So he then, there's 2 mobile homes on the property. He bought it as investment property for my sister to live there. My sister lived there. Since then, a couple other people have lived in that property. At some point, He did grade part of his property to get easier access to that dedicated roadway. And then suddenly a cable appeared across the access point with a lock on it. My dad, being retired law enforcement, very non-confrontational, very community-oriented, did not want to cause any problems with the neighbor, but eventually my dad asked me to get involved in managing the property for him. So when I got involved, I went to the property, I noticed that access was blocked, and I asked him about it, and he said that the neighbors blocked the access and don't allow us to use that roadway, at which time I was a little more aggressive. I said, that needs to be addressed immediately. They can't block a public roadway. It's against the law. So I then contacted Madera County just to make sure, because every map that I've looked at clearly shows that roadway accessing our property. So I said it has to be a legal roadway. I mean, it says it everywhere. It's dedicated, everything. I contacted Irvin Menendez at Madera County. He said, absolutely it is. He said, the one thing I would do is I would put in for encroachment permit so you can actually pave access onto that roadway. My dad submitted for an encroachment permit. It was approved through Madera County.
What year? This is on the southwest portion of the...
On the map that they submitted as their exhibit, it would say the north.
Yeah, it's on the north side right there. Right.
Okay. But coming off of Road 426...
It's on their south side of their property.
On the southwest side of that's where you come in, right? On the south side of your property?
No, it'd be on the east.
Okay, so this one, so we're talking about this one right here, and not that one.
Right, this is the one they're down.
Okay.
This is the one they have right now.
Okay.
You're coming off on the east side, right? Right now, your driveway into that?
There is an easement, yes, on the...
There's a road here, it says by this map.
Yeah, it shows we'll see it up here right now.
Is it one of the exhibits?
Yeah.
That's one of the exhibits.
It's one of the Exhibit B.
You got it in front of you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Exhibit B. So this roadway right here is how they access the property, right here.
Right now?
Yes.
So they've been using this?
Yes.
And how do you get your trailer?
There's also a driveway. There's also a easement from this right here.
Right.
It's very steep, and
do you use it?
Yes.
Okay. How do you get your trailers in?
They've been there for.
I mean, they
they've been there
this
forever.
way or this
I don't
way?
know.
Okay, so let's use this for the public.
The trailers have been there forever. They're like 1960s trailers. They're old mobile homes, maybe even 50s. So I don't know.
So yours is 021, and it looks like, is that Black Road or Blank Road? Black Road?
See, hey, Brett, look right here. This is the one we're abandoning right here.
Right.
And
Yes.
right now,
and
they've been going in here right now, you said, Matthew?
Yes, there's a very steep.
So how, did you ever use this for your driveway?
Yes, they used it as our driveway until at some point there was
so the cable was on
right here.
This road that was being
correct. They restricted access.
The cable was right
illegally with a cable across there.
What year was that?
I don't know the year.
5 years ago?
Yeah,
1 year ago?
I mean,
so they still had
purchased
access themselves. They just blocked. They just didn't want any
They didn't
residents.
want anybody using the public roadway, which clearly connects to my property. So my dad purchased it in '98.
Right.
The Trooperies purchased it.
I thought you said '89. Did it? You told me '89, so I got it wrote down.
'89 was when it was that was dedicated to the county. My dad purchased it in December '97. It was finalized almost 20 years. March 1998 is when it was recorded with the county.
Yeah.
Again, and here's the conditions of the sale right here. He saved the original map that the Cates used to market it.
We're just trying to get these dates right. I am in my mind.
Yeah, 98, and then the Trooperies purchased those two lots, I believe, in 2007, based on my research.
Staff, is those people here that own that property? Are they here? Oh, they are? need to have them talk to you. So your sister, whoop. Oh, just put it back up for a second. Does your sister live there now?
No.
Does anybody live there?
Yes.
In those trailers?
Yes.
Are you renting it?
Yes.
And they've been using this driveway?
Yes.
And you don't remember when they closed it then?
I don't. No. It's. Let me finish the history.
Oh, okay.
So basically, I got it backwards, sort of, in my explanation to you. The cable was across there with a lock on it, at which time I told my dad, that's totally illegal. That needs to be dealt with immediately. Technically, you could just cut the cable off. It's blocking access. It's not legal. My dad's very community-oriented. He's like, no, we can't just cut it down. We have to contact them and give them the right and this and that. He attempted several phone calls. He offered to go into a maintenance contract with them for the roadway, at which time it was totally rejected. No, you can't use our road. You can't walk on it. You can't drive on it. You can't be here, period. At which time, again, I had contacted the county to make sure 100%, because it was drawn on every single map.
When was that?
When did I contact?
Yeah.
August of 2016.
Okay.
So when all I did was gave Urban Mendez, the guy at Madera County, the parcel number. That's all I gave him. I said, hey, this is the parcel number. There's some question as to access. And he sent me back like 6 pages, which included the actual dedication, the signed pages. He actually sent it. It was included volume 2106, page 604 through 609. So I knew that then it was linked. There had to be a link to our lot, because why would, when you pull up our plot map, why would it show access and give us all of this documentation?
Mm-hmm.
So I gave that information to my dad. My dad took that paperwork, put it in an envelope, sent it certified mail to the Trip Trees, and said, can you please stop blocking the roadway? It's a public roadway. Here's the documentation. We have access to this roadway. She then took down the cable and erected a permanent structure with wood posts and concrete. So at some point there was sheriffs involved between the cable and the concrete, because they were actually even parking vehicles blocking it once the cable came down for a short period, at which time we could use it again. Then they put up the permanent concrete. They got removed. I think my dad removed them. I don't know. But they got taken out because they were totally against the law. It's totally illegal in blocking it. And so after that it all transpired, then just recently I get the certified mail saying that they were requesting to have the dedication vacated. So that's why I came down and wanted to talk about that.
Matthew, do you know who you sent that certified letter to?
To the property owner, it wasn't to the...
You sent it to the property owner?
That's why it's not on the record then.
So you mean the application that said that I had to respond within 7 days?
Right, yeah.
Right.
It said on there that to respond to her. To Trip Tree. I got it from the Trip Tree. I didn't get it from the county. It came, the certified mail receipt said Trip Tree on it.
Have you got it?
Supervisor Rogers, you have a copy?
Well, that was my line of questioning. I wanted to find out, what happened with his objection and why it wasn't in the record and what have you. That concerns me.
When I was contacting the county originally, and I understand I called yesterday to try to get Mendez's title, he was very helpful. He was like, hey, yeah, this is, very responsive, called me back, etc. But I think he got in a little bit, it was a little too deep for him. And so he says, hey, you might want to talk to someone else. And he gave me a name.
Right.
I have it written down. Never received a call back, ever. And then I kind of sensed that something was going on through the county, which was confusing to me, because it was a private citizen issue. And then When my dad contacted Mendez after the encroachment permit was approved, he actually said, oh, you might want to hold off on that. The county's considering vacating it. And then I kept calling and saying, what does that mean? How can they consider vacating? It's an irrevocable commitment to the county. And I couldn't get an answer. And so the next thing I got was the certified mail. It said on it, I read the document.
What did it say on it?
It said to return a copy to the Trip Trees. It did not mention the county. It showed that it was a document that she needed to complete as part of an application to the county. The form looked like, it basically said application, I think, to vacate.
Did you make a copy of it?
Supervisor Fager? Yeah, well, I'm not quite done yet. All right.
Are you done, Dave?
No, I wasn't quite done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we've got a problem here. I wanted to get to the bottom of why your objection wasn't in there. And we can note that now in the record that there was an objection and why, if you'd like to state that. And I think you're stating that already as your objection. But there's another problem here, and that is with open and notorious use, adverse possession. If there was adverse possession, which you didn't have any adverse possession, you had a prescriptive right to be able to access that property through that road. There's an easement there, whether or not the county had dedicated right of way by adverse possession. So you have a prescriptive right to use that easement regardless. And so I don't know that we can actually vacate this.
And that was actually going to be my point. Was that it seems like there is an easement by prescription that if you've been using this more than 7 years. My other question is, because this, unless there's access off of Black Road, is there access off of Black Road? Because this pretty much would landlock him. There would be.
Yeah, Supervisor, our understanding is, there's a couple things here. Our understanding is there is access off Black Road. The parcel does touch Black Road. There is a way to access that parcel without going through this offered right of way. The other thing I wanted to mention is
Is it a good access? What's the difference? Is this one's perfect?
Come up here and get in line, sir. You guys want to talk? Come up here and get in line.
Is there? I'm just asking. Is it a good access off of Black Road?
I don't know that I can comment on whether or not it's good access. It's legal access to public right-of-way, which is what we look at when we're considering the vacation of right-of-way and access to a parcel. I will mention that Mr. Hyatt's correct. There were notices that were sent out by the applicant to the neighboring property owners. They were all received back. We have a record that she sent us back in April that indicated that the parcels south of them and their two parcels that they own were in support of the vacation, and that no response had been received by Mr. Hyatt as of the 19th of April.
I have a copy of your certified letter.
Yeah, that she signed.
What date was that?
May 3rd, 2017.
So as of April 19th, that was certified after, so that's why it wouldn't have been in there.
We need to have the clerk of the board make a copy of that for the record.
Just a couple of things. One, I can't say with 100% confidence that access has been used for 7 years. I absolutely can't. And
when did they start using it?
I don't know. And I've asked my dad about when did they start using it, when did they pave it.
It doesn't matter. It was a legal access. Anyway.
Yeah, it was legal access. He couldn't give me that. And again, every time I ask him, he says, I couldn't. They blocked it. They blocked it. They blocked it. That was his answer every time, is they blocked it. And honestly, he's absolutely, oh, of course, he's absolutely non-confrontational. I would have cut the cable that day. He's like, no, we have to be, nice to our neighbors and we have to get along. And I agree with that, except when you're violating the law. Right. And then I disagree. So, and going, even I think regardless of like the arguments of this and that, if you look at Exhibit B and you look at Exhibit A, this clearly goes to my property, right? And so we bought it, I believe it's, let's see here, we've dedicated. The Stein family is who irrevocably dedicated it to the county. And I keep racking my head because they said, why would they run that? Why would they dedicate this roadway all the way to my property? If they would have stopped 1 foot short, we wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
And I'm sure that he knew that. I'm sure that when the Steins and the Cates, they were neighbors. And they ran this to the property. Right. And outside of them testifying in here and saying, well, I never intended on, the Steins or whatever, ever using this. But even in Exhibit A, it talks about it says plot 2, it says parcel map 2593. It's described. My parcel map is described in every document related to this right of way. So, I don't think at the end of the day that the Trip Trees should be rewarded with a vacation after continually violating the law, which is, and I'm sure they had a title report when they purchased the property, and they knew that that was a dedicated roadway, just like my dad did. So the very last thing I guess I would say is, I thought I didn't know that the county was actually presenting against me as far as this goes. Or represent, sorry, not against me. I didn't know, not against me. I didn't realize.
They're not against you. They're just, they didn't get the documents that look like to me.
But the last thing I guess I would say is, if you as a board decide to vote and vacate it, would you please, based on the documentation, the resolution I read, it says that if you do vacate it, they have to add an easement in order to get access to that other property. Right. I don't see the harm. It's zero cost. I don't see any harm in adding an easement access to our property, since it's clearly there already. That's if you vote to vacate.
So, and that was going to be my next question. Is there some middle ground that we can reach here today? So you're saying if
Absolutely.
we vacate it, as long as you still have an easement through that vacation.
Ultimately, it'd be better to vacate it, because then it's not a public road, but I still have access through an easement. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that would benefit everybody. I'm not building high occupancy buildings back there. I have 3 people that live back there. I have 2 mobile homes. They're good people. Pay the rent on time. I don't think they're causing a problem. I have homeowners insurance for liability. I would absolutely enter into a mutual maintenance contract.
So they're getting there now with this road?
Yes, because it's
so that they're not coming in off Black Road. So
no.
Okay.
Because the barriers were removed on
the barriers and the cable
were removed on more than one occasion.
Oh, anyway, I'll say that. Can we have other people speak?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like a copy of the original?
We got them.
Yeah, we got that.
We have them.
Okay. The marketing, that would be...
Your name and address, please.
Go ahead. Leslie Triptree. I'm on the property.
We can barely hear you.
Leslie Triptree. I live at 50395 Road 426.
Okay. What was your last name?
Triptree.
Oh, okay.
And Byron Villagomez. I live at 50389 Road 426.
What was your first name?
Byron.
Byron.
So I'm not sure quite where to begin. My husband and I, Courtney Triptree, did buy the property in 2007. We bought it as rental property from the Cappuccinos, who are also here, who are from the Stein, excuse me. The Cappuccino family was the original family that owned all of the property that's in question for me. And when we bought it, we understood that access could be where the pavement ends, does not butt up to Mr. Hyatt's property. It ends, I guess, 60 feet short of that. We understood it to be a utility access if in the event that power, whatever needed to get through there. And in my research, it being dedicated to the county just meant that the county, once property is split and it has to be paved the way that it's paved, it gets dedicated to the county. The county has, doesn't maintain it, doesn't do anything with it. They just want it in case it's going to go somewhere else and lead to another road, which it clearly does not. Mr. Hyatt's renters have been using the property or the road just since maybe last August. I want to say October. I don't know the exact date. But we purchased the property in 2007. The road, there was no road. There is no road from where the pavement ends to where his property starts. There was no road at all. And there was actually some abandoned cars there on our property when we bought it that we had to have moved. And, excuse me, we had to have those vehicles moved. I've since moved into the one of the homes. I moved in 2 years ago, so in 2015, I moved in there. And yes, we did have a chain across the gate. It was not locked, or across where they wanted to access. There was a chain there that my husband had put up years ago when we first bought the property. So for 10 years that we've owned the property, nobody ever questioned anything. Nobody came to us and asked us about it. There was no use whatsoever with that access.
To be on the.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Supervisor has a question for you. Yeah, you received the objection from.
I did, and when I got it from the I don't remember if it was Leopold or if it was Irvin that sent it to me. I want to say it was Irvin, because when we first started the process, we were working with Leopold, and then Irvin got transferred in. I understood the county was going to send all the paperwork out, and then he emailed my son-in-law, Byron, with the paperwork and just said that we needed to contact everybody. I in turn contacted Irvin and said, I have had no contact with Matthew, and that I didn't know how to contact him. So he told me basically through the county, I could look up his mailing address, which I did, and I sent a certified letter to him. My instructions were, and it was clearly marked on that paper, that I had to have all my paperwork back in a week. So I certified it to him.
That's why you didn't reflect
the day that I mailed it back in, okay. I don't have it with me, unfortunately, but I took a snapshot of the screen. He hadn't even picked it up yet from his mailbox. So I sent that back in with my paperwork saying, I don't have his to turn in. It did come in to me later, but it was already after the date.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Supervisor Frazier?
So I guess what is your goal of the abandonment? What is your ultimate build out, whatever you're going to do? What are you going to do with it? And do you have a problem with granting an easement along the road once it's abandoned, if it's abandoned?
Well, basically...
And I think we can get out of here quicker.
Okay. Just real quick, the road that they're talking about, it's not, like she said, it's not a road. It's pretty much, it was weeds. They have since they have started going through it, it now looks like people drive through it. But they actually have the next road down the street from our driveway, I believe it's the Black Road Extension. They actually have their own driveway, and it goes right up to their house. Not only do they have one, but there's other houses that use that same road. I'm 36. I've lived in Oakhurst my entire life. That's always been that road. The renter who lives there now basically told us, we asked him why he was wanting to use our road. He goes, basically because I like your road better, because it's paved. I don't want to use my road because it's bumpy.
You say your road, it's a county road.
Well, our driveway. Because it's the driveway.
It's county road.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he just that's what he said. He said your driveway is better and I like it better. But basically, they bust through weeds to get to it, to get to where this.
So it's still bumpy. It's just less bumpy.
No. Where we live. Yeah.
Once they leave the pavement, yes, they're
If
going up over bumps. And from what he told me, because he's come down and their renter has come down and yelled at me more than once, but he had said that the owners don't want to fix their driveway, and that's why we're going through this process.
And like I said, so basically where their house is, they never had roads or any kind of driveway coming through. They do now because they just pretty much drive wherever they want. There's all sorts of little pathways that they have created over the last few months to make it to where our driveway wraps around up to where the Cappuccinos live.
So the goal of this is to get them to stop driving through
the weeds. Yeah.
So it's not to redevelop or put other stuff around there. We're just talking. We don't want an easement. You don't want to have an easement because the whole goal is to get them to stop going through.
With Matthew's father, back when this kind of all started, I had told, because he's got there are 2 mobile homes that they rent out, and then I believe it's his dad's travel trailer parked on the property that he comes. I'm assuming he comes and stays occasionally at. And I told him when I talked to him, I said, if you want access, or if you need access to move your travel trailer out, if you're here, that's all fine and well with me. If we can come to an agreement on that, I'm perfectly fine with that. That didn't seem to, help the situation any. Like I said, there are several renters up there now. In the last week, I've had people coming and just parking on my property and then walking up to the mobile homes, and I've asked them and told them, this is private property. You can't be on my property, and they just basically tell me that they're going up to the other homes and they're just going to be there for a little while. And
Supervisor Wheeler, do you have a question?
So, a couple of things. Were they parked on the road?
No, they were on my property.
Off the 60-foot right away?
Yes.
Okay, you could do that then. So when they came to you to ask about doing a cooperation on keeping the road up, and you decided you guys didn't want to do that for some reason?
Well, he didn't really offer that. All he said was, I'll be a really good neighbor. I can help you maintain it. And I said, well, from my understanding is you don't want to do anything to maintain your own driveway right now. How are you going to help me with mine? And I didn't get a good response.
Well, that's here to there, because what he does from that point on.
Yeah. But the only offer that I got was, I'll be a good neighbor and I can help you.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, you realize it's not yours.
Okay, yeah, I do understand
you
that.
keep saying that, but
it's not yours.
When we bought the property, I understood that it was our driveway.
Yeah, it's
so
not.
I'm sorry that I.
But it's not your driveway.
Okay, the road. He
I'm just
basically
trying
said he was going to help
get you
me.
to understand that that's public right of way.
Okay, I understand that. I'm sorry, I keep referring to it as my driveway.
If they're parking on your land, that's different. You have the right to tell them, get off my land, and they have to comply. But that right of way there is public right of way, and anybody can travel that right of way.
I understand that, and we have.
Okay. I just want to make sure you understand that.
I'm sorry that I keep referring it to.
And the 60 feet that you think it came up to, I mean, if you were told differently, I mean, that's whoever sold it to you and sold it that way, you have a problem with them civilly as well. And if the title company said that it went to 60 feet, then you have a claim with the title company.
Right.
But I mean, it's pretty clear here on the map where the road goes to.
Well, can I clarify that the map? If you were actually to go to the property, that road does not go straight. It's pretty much a turn. It looks like the way it's drawn, it pretty much butts up to a bunch of trees and weeds that are right there. There was no ever roadway that went through there. It just pretty much turns, does a 180 and goes to the Cappuccino's house, which goes like this. Their property is way up on a hill that they basically have just busted through weeds to get to a paved area of roadway. So with no approach, no...
Go ahead.
Yeah, when you buy your property, you had to have this map.
Oh, I'm sure we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you had to have it. And if you
no,
didn't...
I understand that.
Okay,
Again,
so that was there. And you know that if it is a public right-of-way, which you say you don't know, but you can't block it off. I mean, it's just.
It's not blocked. They are using it.
No, I mean, but when you did put the chain up,
right. And again, that was 10 years ago.
When they do this, when they do a map like this, there might be 100 trees, there might be 20 big rocks. But that's where the right-of-way is. That 60 foot is set there. It's dedicated. It's the only way you can change it is if you want to change yourself, you got to do it as good or better with their permission. So that right-of-way is there. And
so if they want to continue using it, do they have to make it an extension, a legal road? Because it's not illegal.
No, there's no.
It is a legal road.
It don't have to be a legal road except where it stops right there, at that your fence line. What they do on their side don't make no difference.
So, but I'm saying from where the road, when you come up the road, it stops pavement and it's just all dirt and it was all weeds until they started driving through there. Do they have to extend that from on my property?
No, because that's already it's dedicated, and obviously it didn't have to be paved for some reason. Did Cappuccino pave it up to your house? Who paved it up to your house?
It's from where the pavement stops and wraps around, where the road wrapped around and goes up to my property or my house. It's gravel from that point up.
So that's all the county required then, if that's the case. And so it's up to the landowner, whoever it is. If you wanted to pave more, you could have. If those people want to pave it, they can do that, or they can put gravel, or they can leave it dirt. It's totally up to them. It's not us to tell them, and it's sure not you guys to tell them.
Okay, so can I have other speakers behind you? Thank you very much. With a codicil to that, if it is paved, it has to be. You have to get an encroachment permit, and you have to do it to county standards.
That's correct, Supervisor. Anything that happens within that right of way would have to be permitted through the Public Works Department.
Right. So I just want to make that clear.
Couple of quick comments. My property in Raymond, I've got 2 easements go across it. They can't be driven. There's rocks there. There's trees there on one of them, and the other one is Willow Drive. Goes down in the dead ends by the creek. At the end of both of those are parcels that are owned by other people, and I understand and have no doubt that if they ever decided to develop it, they have a right to develop it to have a second way in. The other war story is one of the property owners on the road in front of me that I use to come in and out runway decided that I should use Willow Drive, and he had the right to decide which right-of-way I had to use, and he wanted me to stay off of the right-of-way that ran in front of his house. It went through the Board of Supervisors, it was discussed, its lawyers got involved, and he finally found out it's a deeded right-of-way, the county owns it. As it is written, everybody has a right to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dale.
Hi, my name is Michelle Troutner. I am one of the renters from
name and
David
address?
Hyatt. 50381 Road 426, Unit A. There's 2 mobiles on that property. I just wanted to say that the area that we are using to get to the cemented area is not full of weeds. I do have pictures of it. I do also have pictures of when they tried to move their dumpster in front of the road to block us, and that we called the sheriff's then because we were told we could use the road, that it was a public road. And so when the sheriff did come up, we did give them the map, and they did ask them to move it. And then I also have pictures of when they put in the wood post to block us after, because they knew that we were just going to continue using it because we were told that we could. So I have pictures of that as well. Before we were able to start using it, of course, there was a little bit taller grass there, but once we were told we were able to use it, my husband went out there and he cleared the pathway for us to be able to use. So yes, they are right. There was high, tall grass there, but ever since there is not. And my pictures will clearly show that to you. So this way there's no, any sort of us driving through tall grass, anything like that. Also, my husband has never gone to their house and yelled at them. My husband has asked them to please stop putting things in front of the roadway so we can use it. I believe it was I think maybe one of her sons, family member, went to my husband's work while he was at work. They own a business in town, and went off on my husband. My husband was like, this isn't the time and place. please leave. And he kept going and he kept going about us using the road and us trespassing against their road. So my husband asked me, if you would like to come back later, I can provide you a map, but I don't have it with me. So my husband went home. The gentleman did return later on in the afternoon to receive the map, and that ended everything. My father-in-law did end up calling that person's employer because he came to the shop in his work uniform, in his work truck, and made a complaint to his boss. Like, this was very inappropriate. We do use the cemented road because the dirt road that is there that we were accessing before, it is steep, it is very bumpy. We have a smaller car and a four-wheel drive car, but even in our four-wheel drive car in the snow, we slide down it because it's so steep. So once we were told we could use that road, we have been using that road. It's been just problems ever since, and so as renters, we're just kind of in the middle of it. So that's what I just want to let you know. Did you need copies of any of the pictures?
Supervisor Fraser, do you want to go first, Paul, or you?
I don't care.
Oh, I'm just thinking we're here on a very much a civil matter. This is a disagreement between neighbors. I think it looked like we were trying to slip one past the goalie somewhat, saying that there was no anybody against it. I feel like since it is a county-dedicated road, it's going to another property. If there was a fire back on yours, we always want to have as many access points as possible in terms of safety. I think that if we dedicate this, I think it gets into a place where it's a take. It's taken away from another piece of property. I think that for 10 years, there was quiet enjoyment because no one was using it. There was no one living back there or using the other place. And now that somebody knows that there's a safer way or an easier way to get to their house on a county road, now that we want to block that off. And I think that we're treading into pretty dangerous waters if we start doing this, taking away from somebody else's piece of property that they already had. It was recorded this way. I feel for the trip trees because there's now a different use to around their home, but it was a use that could have been used at any given time during your tenure at the place. So I think we're just going down a very dangerous road if we start taking away from one property to give to another.
Supervisor Wheeler? Yeah, a couple of things. Your name was Michelle Schaffner?
Troutner.
Oh, Troutner. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Troutner. And how long have you lived there?
I have been at the property renting it for 6 years now.
Okay. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments? When did you find out about that you could use that?
Ahmad, any comments?
Yes.
So to my understanding, Dave, who was the owner, and then I believe it was Matt who bought the property or started helping him. Once that whole transition started, that's when we found out that we were able to use it.
And that was about last
August? Last, I believe, August, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ahmad, did you have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody. Well, you see and understand that the situation here, but just from the county and public works perspective, the applicant has the right to apply for a vacation of a road, and we have to bring it to your board for consideration.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay.
And I just wanted to add, if I didn't say this already, we did receive the responses from the neighboring properties, and the Trip Trees did provide a copy of the certified receipt, mailing it to Mr. Hyatt, indicating that they did not receive a response as of the 19th of April. So that's the information we had to go with as far as...
Yeah, we ferreted through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we take no action, does this go away? Do we have to vote? Do we have to vote for it or against it, or how does it work?
Gina?
So, Chairman, members of the board, before you is a resolution for approval. The board can certainly make a motion not to approve the resolution just for the record, or it could die for lack of a motion in a second. And so
Close the
Well,
hearing.
I think we should clear it up.
Yeah, I think we need to clear it up by motion.
I'll make a motion, we deny the vacation of that Golden Ball Drive.
I'll second that. We have first and second, roll call?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
All right, let's take a little break, 10-minute break. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, we're ready to go with item number 6B under 10 o'clock public hearings. Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District number 33, Fairmead Public Works Department, Municipal Services Division. Hearing to adopt a resolution to increase the monthly water rate by $22.88 per unit for a total $60.88 per unit for Maintenance District 33, Fairmead, effective September 1st, 2017.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ahmad Al-Qayat, Public Works Director. Thank you, Rhonda. The item here is discussion and consideration to your board to approve the resolution to increase the monthly rate for water services by $22.88 for MD33 Fairmead. And I know I'm here at the podium, but I'd like to introduce Cassie Shohan with the State Water Quality Control Board. She would probably answer most of the questions why we are here, but we'll try to do that better. Alvina Prakash, our municipal services engineer, I would call her. Excellent engineer for us. Mr. Mohammed Al-Khatami, our newly acting Public Works Special Districts Manager. And of course, Ms. Andrea Saldate, our manager of the Administrative Division with Public Works. With that, we are here to take your questions. We will get an update from Rhonda if there are any protest letters that we received.
Yes, we received one protest letter.
Okay, thank you. So we're here for questions. Or if Cassie, would you like to say something? Go ahead, please.
I could just give you good morning, Chairman and members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk to you about something that I'm very passionate about, which is drinking water and making sure that systems have a sustainable source of supply for today and into the foreseeable future. So I've been involved with this project for several years now, and working with the county on this project as well as with the community, attending multiple community meetings to ensure that they understand the importance of the project and the need to have rates in place such that they support the development, the new infrastructure that's being constructed, as well as the existing infrastructure. So we attended a meeting just in June. Is it June? April, sorry, to give them an update. And we've been updating the residents along the way to make sure that they understand this is not just the county trying to increase the water rates, but there's a real need. And what's on the line, what I want you to understand is what's on the line is potentially approximately $1.3 million in grants, because the county has submitted an application for construction funds to essentially make the system whole. So it's going to address their source capacity issues and the need to have adequate supply to meet both maximum day and peak hour demands as well as fire flow demands, in addition to the requirement to have meters. So this $1.3 million project is going to address all of the needs, and there's several components of being able to process that application, including an environmental clearance, which we have obtained, a technical clearance, which is in progress, and it's essentially just making sure that the project is designed and will last for the life of the project, and then the financial clearance. And the financial clearance is really pending the approval of this rate increase for the community. The rates that they have now, the state board has made a determination that they're not sufficient to maintain their existing system, much less any additional infrastructure. So I'm very sympathetic to the fact that the county and the residents are faced with an increase of $22.88 a month, because that can be significant for some residents. But it is imperative for the project to move forward that we adopt that rate structure to ensure that we have rates in place to support the infrastructure existing and infrastructure that we're proposing to install as part of the construction project.
Can I just ask a quick question? Just to clarify, just to clarify in layman's terms. So without the rate increase, there would be no grant.
That's correct. So the rate increases, it has to be passed so that we can move forward with the construction application and issuance of a funding agreement for the $1.3 million project. And I would also like to just emphasize that the needs don't go away whether or not the rate increase is passed or not. The need is still there and will have to be addressed, whether we proceed with it, addressing the need through the funding project or some other means.
Supervisor, if I may, Supervisor, if I may, just to clarify, that is correct what Cassie said. We are getting the new system as a grant. We just need to make sure that we can maintain and operate this new system. That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, just looking at it, and this is indicative of all of our, or not all of our special districts, but most of them. This is not, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these coming forward, not just for MD 33, and a lot of them that are going to come forward, and there's not going to be $1.3 million coming in on the backside of it. We're going to have to pay that $1.3 million, and that's going to have to come up with the rates themselves. So, and when I first read this, just going quickly, I thought it was going from 2288 to 6088. So 37.
An increase.
I was like, that is, that was, not that this isn't quite a bit, that's still, 33%, but I thought it was almost 200% over what.
Correct. It's an increase of $22.88 to their current rate, makes it up to $66.88, I think. One thing also this rate includes is the payback of their debt that they've been accumulating since 2011. So 6 years of county.
Correct.
General fund.
And thank you. That leads me into my next statement, which is now that we're actually seeing exactly how much it costs in real dollars, which I don't think we really had a great handle on before, just because of the way the state requires special districts to be budgeted, where it budgets at zero, everything lands at zero, which would be amazing. There's no way that ever happens. And so I think now that we actually see how much is coming out of the general fund, and the general fund can't backfill these. We can't continue, and it's not even that we can't continue by way of policy. We just can't, because it's illegal. It's illegal. It's a gift of public funds. And so we're going to have to look at these, and it's going to be painful over the next few years, and we're going to have to step up, and in these we need to look at, is there the CPI that's built into this? Are we planning for, in 5 years it won't be the same as today? Are we planning for the next 5 years? And I know that we are.
We are, Supervisor. We do have the CPI that will kick in after 1 year in next year we will start looking at the CPI adjustments, and also every 5 years there needs to be a rate study or re-evaluating of the system.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of political will to move these, and then we're going to have to, and you're doing a great job in Fairmead with the outreach to let them know exactly what it means to them, and what the benefits are to it, and what the new normal is. So we're going to, on a broader discussion, we have to continue those efforts. You all are going to be very busy in the next couple of years.
If I may, also part of the outreach, Supervisor Rogers and also the community, they know how much we've been doing meetings and community meetings. Right. Also, today with us, I'd like to thank Self-Help Enterprises. They're providing translation services, so they're in the back. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody involved. I didn't get the chance to do that. I should have done it. But the state for being there, our representative, and all of our staff. I was at those meetings, and I think you did a very good job of presenting the situation. And I think an informed community can make an informed decision. So I think they're doing that, and it's evident.
Ahmad, question. Out of the 2280, how much is for future improvements and how much is to pay loan debt?
Supervisor, none for future improvement. This is just maintenance and operations. And I can, any of you guys know how much to pay back the debt?
It's $9.09 for the debt repayment. That's the portion that's associated with debt repayment.
Right.
Go ahead, Andy.
Any other questions?
And I would just like to add, this rate study was done by the state. So this rate study essentially was free to us. This is not one of the studies done by our consultants, Bartle Wells. And in the Bartle Wells, what we're trying to do with them is we're trying to consolidate their debt much quicker. So most of the Bartle Wells rate increases, the debt is paid back within 2 to 3 years. So a 5-year debt payback of $97,000 is actually very comfortable in regards to us being much more aggressive with other districts with larger debt and smaller population. So I just want to make sure that, a 5-year debt repayment is very nice. This debt has been on the books for quite a while, and so we're trying to get that through and back to the general fund as quickly as possible.
Perfect. Okay. Great. Well, let's open up to a public comment.
Dale Drozen, Fresno County resident. Did I just hear that there is no future reserve fund built into this rate?
Go ahead.
The rate study did evaluate what they need to pay for O&M and contingency, so if they do have improvements that come up so they don't incur future debt like they have in the past. So the $13.79 is built in with the $9.09 for the debt. So there is the two components for the O&M and contingency plus the debt repayment, yes.
So they'll be building a reserve fund when the well goes out or the pump eventually dies.
Yes.
They'll have the money to replace it.
Yes, so they evaluated them to be self-sufficient, yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, is there a cost of living building on this every year too?
CPI, yeah.
Okay.
CPI will hit in July of 2018.
And
thank you.
So, and
Supervisor Fraser?
Am I correct that, so after to put it in a different way, after the loan repayment is done, then that loan repayment then goes to build the contingency, right? Or no?
Yes, so the loan repayment was evaluated for 5-year paybacks. So after the loan is repaid, another rate study will be evaluated for the assistance needs. Yes.
Hello, my name is Yolanda Gomez, and I'm a Madera County resident. I've lived in Fairmead
Get closer to the mic, please.
since I was 4 years old. My name is Yolanda Gomez. My address is 22677 Maple Street. And like I said, I've been there since I was 4 years old. Recently, we had, a couple years ago, they made a tank. We had a grant. They just increased our prices, our water rates. And we're told this, and that, and they make everything pretty, and then now we're told that we have a $97,000 debt, which, like they said, $9 of that is to pay the debt. Now we're being told, or I just heard that they're going to apply for another grant, and that's where the $22.88 go into place. But what I don't understand is how we're told that we're getting grants, grants are paying this, and then now we're being told that we owe $97,000, but yet our water rates were increased when they made the tank. And I believe it's a reserve tank, it's not even a well. What I want everyone to understand is that Fairmead is a very small community. Mostly everyone that lives there that uses this water is on a fixed income. The rates, this $60.88, I used to live in Chowchilla. I've moved out of Fairmead for 3 years, and that's what I paid in Chowchilla. I moved back to Fairmead because the taxes were lower, the water was lower, and being that I was recently divorced, I could afford those on a fixed income. Now, most of the people there are retired, are on Social Security, welfare. $60.88 is a lot of money. And if we're trying to repay a debt that we owe now, how are we going to build and do and increase. They want to maintain it. That's just, like she said, for the reserve to maintain and for us to build the new well that they need. But we can't afford that right now. And the only thing that I ask is for time so that we can get the residents together and you can get more letters because personally I don't agree to the rate. I did go to the community meeting, and like I said, they just increased it not too long ago. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and we're not ready for another increase. We are not ready for another increase. And if you guys give us time, I'm sure, because most of the people that live in Fairmead, they rent. They're not owners. The owners do not reside in Fairmead. They're in the Bay Area, they're in different areas, and they rent. So the renters, they don't have that voice. They can't speak. And the other people that are well off in Fairmead, they have their own wells. They take care of their own stuff, you know. So the only thing that I would like is more time to inform the owners and let them come down and speak for themselves. But like I said, myself, I already faced an increase. And I don't agree to this increase, and I'm going to do whatever I can for it not to increase again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Before we move on, can we ask staff to answer the question where the debt, the $96,000 debt came from?
So the $97,000 worth of debt is operation and maintenance debt. It is not due to any capital improvement projects. It is all just basic O&M. So having field staff out there attending to the system, PG&E bills, things of that nature. It's just basic operation and maintenance.
So every year we would have another $97,000?
No, the $97,000 has accumulated over beginning in 2011. Yeah.
So which indicates that the rate is too low, right, for the owned system.
Yes.
And all the improvements were made by grant. Am I correct?
Yes, all the capital improvements that have been made in the Fairmead area have been due to a grant from the state.
Okay. And that is not a common occurrence in most maintenance districts. Am I correct?
Absolutely. We would love to be able to receive the amount of grant funding that we have in Fairmead and other districts.
And without this $1.6? $1.3 million, the Fairmead system is going to continue to have problems and continue to be deficient. And this brings the system up to a very good level of operation. That is without cost to the ratepayers. We're only talking about the operations and maintenance of the system and the repayment of an accumulated debt for operations and maintenance. So it's not something that, anyway, I think I've explained it.
Supervisor Rogers, I would like to point out as well that the community did have what I would consider a catastrophic failure in 2015 where their main supply well went down. So at that time, because they did not have a reserve, they did not have a contingency fund in place, they came to the state for emergency funding. And fortunately, at that time, we had emergency funding available. If they came to the state today, there would be no emergency funding available for them. So we were able to pay for a rehabilitation of that well, as well as hauling water to their tank for a period of about 4 months. Right. And so they're one failure away from having a major catastrophe and not having emergency funding available to be able to help out in all circumstances.
Wow. Thank you. That's a point well taken.
Go ahead. My name is Barbara Nelson, and I have some property in Fairmead where my mother lives on. She's 93 years old on a fixed income at 19341 Avenue 23. And as a property owner, I did receive the letter about the rate increase. And I'm torn in between. I understand in Fairmead a lot of people are on a fixed income and don't have, the money, including my mother. But I know the need of us having a new system. I've been there and seen what we had to go through in the people. So, as far as I'm concerned, I agree with the rate. I know it's hard, but we have to do something to bring our system up to help our community. Right. So that's my opinion and concern about it.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Hello, my name is Lee. I stay in Fairmead, 22596 Road 19 and a half. I don't know if the problem is actually there in Fairmead. It's probably coming from up in the mountains where the water's having difficulty to get down to Fairmead to fill up the tank. And I don't think it's enough residents there to be able to pay that. It's only 100 and something places there. And all them places is not being used with water. Some of them properties is not using water. So I don't think they could afford it anyway. It's only 100 and something residents there, so.
Yeah, economy of scale would help.
Yeah. And the rates is going up pretty fast. I think when my dad was living, we was paying like 27, something like that. And then all of a sudden it was 32. And then it jumped to 36, and less than a year it was 38, right. And now we going into a $60-something rate now, and I don't think they about ready for that. There's not enough residents there.
Don't help.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to point out one more thing, and staff.
Can you put your name on the?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Supervisor Rogers.
I want to point out one more thing, and staff can corroborate this or not. I know that, I live on a parcel where I provide my own water and all of that, and the PG&E rates have climbed since 2011, since that last rate increase. They've climbed 30%. And there's your O&M right there. There's your losses right there. The rates on PG&E alone would cause the rate to go up, and it has to be paid. And it has to be paid by the users because we own the services, and that's just a fact of life. Nothing's going to stay static. Nothing. It's got to be paid for. Bob?
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay. Let's close our public comment and bring it back to the board.
I'll move let's see, what do we need to do now? The protest hearing.
No, this is it.
I mean, what do we say? Is there a specific statement we need to make on that?
Well, the chairman can close the public hearing portion.
Okay.
You did.
Okay, so we don't need to do that. I move to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
I just wanted to
We're going to have to introduce them all.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got two guys here for lunch. Let's just go to 12 and see what happens. Let's go to 12. Let's go to 12 and see.
We can go to 12 if you want. I don't care.
Okay. We'll go to 12.
Okay.
All right, 7A, Probation Department, presentation of a proclamation proclaiming July 16th through July 22nd as Probation Services Week. Whereas community corrections is an essential part of the justice system, and whereas community correction professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of public to be safeguarded from criminal activity. And whereas community correction professionals are responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community. And whereas community correction professionals are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for offenders. And whereas community correction professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups. And whereas community correction professionals promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy. And whereas community correction professionals provide services, support, and protection for victims. And whereas community correction professionals advocate community and restorative justice. And whereas community correction professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby recognize and proclaim July 16th through 22nd, 2017 as Probation Services Week and encourage all citizens to honor community correction professionals and to recognize their achievements.
Wow, that was a mouthful. Thank you, Rhonda. Good morning, Board. Rick Dupree, Probation Department. As Rhonda read before you is the proclamation honoring probation, parole, and pretrial services week. It's an opportunity to honor the probation staff and all the work that they do for the community. A lot of people don't realize the type of duties that a probation officer does. Most people just assume that all a probation officer does is go out and supervise people, make arrests, things like that. But that's just one of the small many components that the probation department does. We do investigative reports for the court, making recommendations to the Superior Court on felony convictions. We do foster care. We do group home placements. We do task force. Net teams, gang task force. Obviously, we do supervision. We oversee and maintain rehabilitative programs. We do so many things. I think one of the things that probation is famous for is that when the legislature mandates something to the counties, if they don't know where it goes, they automatically pick probation to assume that function. And so I think over the years we've kind of went from just a group of officers who supervised probationers to doing all these different roles. Oh, I forgot one of our main roles is to oversee the juvenile detention facility, which is, one of the huge costs that my department has, and as well as the largest liability. So I definitely don't want to forget that aspect of our department. So anyway.
Is that all?
There's other things, I'm sure. No. Waiting for the syllabus. Thank you.
Seven B, County Administration Department, Human Resources, Operations Division. Discussion and consideration of approval to amend the classification plan for the Sheriff's Office effective July 1st, 2017, with direction to 1, amend the classification plan by adding the class of Sheriff's Corporal. 2, set the salary range for Sheriff's Corporal as follows. Range 271, $5,285 to $6,424 per month. 3, designate the Sheriff's Corporal class as overtime eligible pursuant to Fair Labor Standards Act. 4, allocate the Sheriff's Corporal class to the Peace Officer Unit for bargaining purposes. 5, direct the Human Resource Operations Division of County Administration to amend the position allocation within the specified Sheriff's org keys as follows, and as reflected in the 2017-18 budget. A, org key 04010, allocate 8.5 full-time employed deputy sheriff positions to the class of Sheriff's Corporal and flex staff with deputy sheriff, basic and deputy sheriff, intermediate. B, org key 04030, allocate Bass Lake, allocate half full-time employed deputy sheriff positions to the class of Sheriff's Corporal and flex staff with deputy sheriff, basic and deputy sheriff, intermediate. C, org key 04074, Court Security. Allocate 1 full-time employee deputy sheriff position to the class of Sheriff's Corporal and flex staff with deputy sheriff, basic, and deputy sheriff, intermediate.
Move to approve. Second.
Did you want to ask for any public comment, Chairman?
Public comment?
Call for the vote. Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Absolutely.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent. 7C, Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division. Discussion and consideration to adopt an ordinance amendment proposed by the County of Madera for zoning ordinance text change to amend various provisions of Title 18 zoning, in particular, amending the definition related to accessory structure, and further consolidate the residential zone districts consistent with Ordinance 525-770 adopted earlier this year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Trieber, Planning Director here, and I also have Becky Beavers, Deputy. This is the second and final hearing for adoption of the proposed ordinance before the board. We just had one slide we were hopeful that we could throw up there just to show the change that was directed by the board at the last meeting, and fingers crossed here. So, and the change came in regards to the bottom bullet point there, which reads the rental of an entire single-family dwelling, regardless of the tenure or length of tenancy, is a permitted use in all residential zone districts. If you recall, we struck the words for any purpose from that was previously in there. So, staff is certainly available for any questions or comments the board has.
Just on that where it says in all residential areas, I just want to make sure again that if an HOA or CC&Rs prohibit it, that in all doesn't supersede that. It doesn't take away the ability of local residents to get rid of it in their area if they don't want it. Is that?
That is 100% correct, Supervisor. Yes, the ordinance before you does not restrict, and I have heard that, it does not restrict any action that a private HOA can adopt CC&Rs that would prohibit and or restrict short-term vacation rentals. That would be a civil issue, but nothing within this ordinance would prohibit a neighborhood or community from doing that, absolutely.
So in all, when it says in all, that the HOAs and CC&Rs are superior to that. Is that correct?
They can restrict that, yes.
All right, that's all I need to know.
consider, I'm sorry, let me put my name on. Hey, Roger. I consider CC&Rs part of private property rights. And when you buy a piece of property, you are apprised of those CC&Rs, conditions, covenants, and restrictions that are pertinent to the land you're purchasing, and you're apprised of those restrictions, and you're agreeing with those, usually with your neighbors that you in the subdivision that you purchased in, or whatever it was. And I consider that part of private property rights. If you don't wish to be restricted, don't buy in that kind of restriction area. And then on the other side of the coin, I also consider it a private property right to be able to lease your property and to rent it. And that's part of it. You know, we used to have a thing called a bundle of rights in real estate, where you had the right to purchase and encumber and use and sell and lease and whatever you wanted to do to your property and build upon it and that kind of thing. That was part of the bundle of rights, and it is something that is availed to Americans like it is in no other place in the world. This is what private property rights are, what make America different from other parts of the world. So it's an important right that we need to maintain. Thank you.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, I just, first of all, I want county council to say what I can or can't do on voting.
Yes. Analysis of the facts related to a piece of property that you own that is used as a vacation rental indicates that there is no conflict that you have with this matter. However, conflicts of interest are individual supervisor decisions because the FPPC would be looking at you to decide whether to abstain from a discussion or a vote. But I see no conflict because it's kind of that public general exception, and it would affect the public generally since it deals with residential zones. And You've also indicated that your children have received the business license in their name. They do all of the rentals on the social media sites themselves, and they keep all the income themselves, and they are not dependent on you.
Well, I would also think that there's no conflict that because that anybody can rent their property out. I can rent my property out. I tend to, in fact, I'm purchasing a piece of property to rent it. So I don't think that, I think it's a very general thing. Anybody can do that. So.
I would be here to make decisions on land use that could affect restaurants, and I have a restaurant. I mean, I think it's the same kind of thing. It's
Did you want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew, because I've been, told I shouldn't vote. So.
But you don't have a monetary gain, because I think you pass it on to your children, right?
I have nothing to do with it. They run it. They do it all.
That's what county council mentioned.
Right.
Okay. Let's open it up to the public.
Still good morning, 5 minutes. No, we got 5 minutes of still before morning time's over.
It's okay, Brad will take 7, right, Brad?
Kathy Thomas. I wrote it down this time so I didn't ramble so much and get So Kathy Thomas, Sierra Home Rentals, Bass Lake Vacations, Century 21 Denton. I do manage vacation rentals, as I did speak with you guys prior about this. This morning I'm going to take a little different approach. I actually looked up the purpose of local government. I'm not going to lecture you guys in it because I know you know what the purpose is. I myself have worked in local government for 10 years, so I do have a history and understanding of it and the responsibility. And one of the things I read, and I just thought this is really apropos for us today, is it's to meet the current and future needs of communities for good quality local infrastructures, local public services, and performance of regulatory functions in a way that is most cost-effective for households and for businesses. My interpretation of that, my simple version, is it's just to do the greater good for the whole. For the whole community, businesses, residents, everybody. What's in our best interest? In looking at the short-term vacation rental industry, it is really an important part of our local community. It's an important part of our economy, just as much as any other business in the area. We employ residents with good, steady jobs. We do pay taxes, and we help pay for services just like everyone else, for police, fire, parks, schools, just like any other business. I support the county zoning ordinance change today because we have both a need and an opportunity today to make a step towards change. I don't believe this is the final step, but I do believe it is a step towards change that needs to happen within our county and the zoning regarding vacation rentals. At the same time, I recommend future revisions to the county's current ordinance regarding short-term rentals that further define and set a minimal standard of compliance for residential vacation homes. I'm in support of perhaps a coalition team of citizens to work on future proposed amendments. I think that's a good starting point for it. I believe it's in the best long-term interest of our mountain community to have an infrastructure that will ensure compliance and a form of regulation for vacation rentals that addresses safety concerns, things such as water, septic, safety of deck railings, stairs, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. I don't know how many homeowners who live or have a residential property know that there is a difference between the type of smoke detector required in the state of California in a rental property versus a residential property. Very different. That's going to affect that homeowner if that house burns down and they've got a renter in there and the wrong smoke detector was in the house. These are things that protect our residents, our property owners, as well as travelers that come into the community. Does the individual person who opens up their home as a short-term rental disclose things about water safety to guests coming in? This is really a concern in our community. We have notices that our public utility service is required to send out regarding the safety of drinking water in our area. Do travelers coming into the community know whether or not they should be drinking that water?
Do they provide breather filters? These are things that really are health and safety issues that we don't have to address today, but in the future we should address. Changing the zoning ordinance today. He's giving me that I got to stop. Okay. I wrote it too long.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, Gary Gilbert, resident of Eastern Madera County. And a pleasure to be in front of you again. And last week you heard a lot of good public input, and I think it was very interesting. Ms. Thomas today said some very good points, and I hope everybody listens. The evolution that Madera County is facing, like all of the counties, is the internet technologies. It's a shared economy, and some of the examples are everything from Uber to VRBOs, Airbnbs, and that is disrupting a lot of previous thoughts and processes. It is really going to require local government and you to be applauded, to step forward to address and update your rules and your regulations. These changes are coming, and they're coming rapidly. And the change here to your Madera County zoning ordinance is the first step to addressing some of those issues. Short-term vacation rentals, defined less than 30 days, have existed in Madera County as according to staff and my personal knowledge for a long time. They are expected and welcomed activities, business activities, in vacation-oriented communities, such as Bass Lake. The shared economy, however, has now brought short-term vacation rentals into my neighborhood and other neighborhoods. They do not belong there. These activities violate resident rights, quiet enjoyment of your residential neighborhood. They disrupt the neighborhood, amplify fire risk, create significant health and safety concerns, and they're not addressing some of the common sense approach that a homeowner has to apply every day. Most California communities, Mariposa, Mono County, has adopted ordinances to address that residential concern. The International Building Code, the California Building Code suggest that a transition to a short-term vacation rental constitutes a legal change in use regarding a plan submission, inspection by Department of your Planning Department, building safety, and could require safety provisions that Kathy talked about, fire, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide monitors, and could include a fire sprinkler system. The legal basis for land use in Madera County and all counties is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. That's the police power that is vested in you. Residential, mixed use, industrial, commercial zoning exists for a reason, and all the normal common sense expectations of what they represent are important. In my case, we purchased a residential lot, single-family residence, 2.5 acres. It's not zoned for commercial, mixed use, and I would expect the county to use your police power to enforce your zoning, which is a residential. The United States Supreme Court has upheld a village or a county zoning ordinance relating to land use restrictions on single-family dwellings. Courts have also held that regulations affecting economic interest in real property are appropriate. Your county has very specific rules, regulations. I hope you would follow them, like we talked about here earlier. If you're going to convert a single family to a bed and breakfast, conditional use permit. Right now you require the business license, use your police power. Each of you have received a letter from the California Hotel Lodging Association. I would hope you would read that because they made some very good points. There is no urgency in passing
Gary,
this
you're out of time.
Consider the idea as a public industry. Have your staff come back with a good recommendation for long-term use. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Myra Torres, Government Affairs Director for Madera Association of Realtors. And I have Ariel.
Ariel Vaudeflou. I am the Chair of Impact Issues Committee with the Madera Association of Realtors.
We are in support, and we reside here in Madera County. I reside over in the Madera Country Club area. It's a beautiful community, and we are in support of the motion set before you for many reasons. We have a beautiful county. We have beautiful sierras and Yosemite. We want to share it with the world, and the ability to be able to have access to short-term rentals is a blessing in our community. It generates tax income for our county, and it also adds additional jobs. But in addition to that, it allows people to be able to use their property as part of their property rights in being able to rent it if they want to rent it for over 30 days. It falls into different criteria. If they're going to short-term rentals are 30 days, under 30 days, and that gives people opportunity to share in many other benefits.
So as it is an income and revenue to our county by renting homes out, I know I personally, not only as a realtor, support private property rights, but as a person, I rent out homes, and I use VRBO, I use HomeAway. Anytime I go anywhere for more than 2 or 3 days, I stay in an Airbnb. It's a great benefit to, a lot of people in the county, and I think that Madera County will benefit from it greatly.
We do have a lot of safety precautions in the CCNRs, and just like you mentioned, Supervisor Frazier, we have a lot of neighborhoods or developments when they were designed specific to certain uses and restrictions, and that's the CCNRs and the HOAs. So that really protects the people when they're purchasing and they want to live in an area that is designated for certain. It could be residents that are 55 and older. It could be just so many different ways of quality of living. And but the general rights are just open, and it gives people a lot of opportunity for them to do that. And as we travel throughout the state and even throughout the country, we also utilize many other areas that if we're vacationing, it's a lot nicer to stay in more of a home-like feel versus to stay in a multi-story building hotel. And this gives us an opportunity to be able to enjoy it when we're away, and also invite people to enjoy it in our community. So I ask that you support or pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dale Drozen, Fresno County resident. I do have property in the county. One of my properties is a rental. Figured I better disclose that. I don't see a problem with the Airbnbs or the short-term rentals as long as they have to go through a conditional use permit and they fit in the area. If I'm reading this right, I could turn my place down here in Rolling Hills into an Airbnb and have people wandering in and out. It's going to affect my neighbors. It's going to affect the neighborhood. I'm probably one of the biggest advocates of people's rights and right to open government and government staying out of our business. Where the government needs to step in is with the zoning ordinances, and that's why you have stepped in. I can't do anything I want with my property, any one of them. I'm restricted by the zoning ordinance. And the reason that's needed is so that one property does not affect the value and the pleasure of another. It's been a good system. This ordinance opens it up for anybody, any place in direct competition. The Starbucks in the lobby out here was a good example of how that died. It was direct business against local businesses, and it was an unfair playing field. As long as the short-term rentals don't have the same requirements as the hotels and the motels that are in town, it's not a level playing field. You've got people that have a lot of money invested in these hotels, in the motels. It's like allowing 2 or 3 of the Roach Coach trucks to pull up in front of a restaurant. They can't compete with the prices. They don't have the same standards to live up to. Mr. Frazier, you own a restaurant. How would you like to have 2 or 3 pizza trucks pull up out in your in front of your place and start selling pizza? It wouldn't be allowed to be done. You can't compete with the prices. So
our quality is much better than price. We don't sell on price, so we're good.
I'll agree with that. But the whole thing is the government needs to step in when what is happening is affecting the properties around it. And these definitely affect the properties around it. If Bass Lake decides that they want to have their entire area Airbnbs or want to get conditional use permits for all of them, go for it. But you don't open it up to the entire county. It won't fit in many of the areas. Thank you.
My name is, Boyce Bates, 34868 Wintergreen Loop, North Fork. And I have 3 questions, but you answered one with whether there's going to be a conflict with any board member owning a residence in that area. And the second one is the way this is worded, the rental of an entire single-family dwelling, regardless of tenure, length, tenancy, or purpose, opens it wide up for purpose. Virtually, you could open anything you want on any single-family dwelling with that purpose.
No.
And I don't know how that is worded like that, but that's how I understand the wording. The third thing is I'm kind of repeating what's already been said about the Airbnbs. I own a single-family residence that is zoned for single-family residence, not hotels. If you pass this, you are virtually allowing a hotel to function in a single-family residence without the requirements from ADA to fire to health and safety to any residence in a single-family residence virtually functions as a hotel without any rules and regulations of the hotels. And if this passes, is the county going to enforce that? And do they have the resources to monitor and collect and oversee all of these Airbnbs in single-family areas? I am personally opposed to any Airbnb in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Supervisors. My name is Tom Stillman. I have a cabin at Bass Lake, 39658 Hazelwood. We in the past have dealt with the renters, and up until lately, the VRBO people have, a lot of the owners want to bypass the realtors because it's a lot cheaper for them, but they're still going to have to pay verbal because their rates are going up. So in the past, when we've had a problem with a renter, we call a realtor that was taking care and overseeing the rental. And now there's nobody to talk to. which is not good for us. We have a situation where we live on a dead-end road. There's 5 cabins on it. The upper cabin on the next road, which is Idlewild, has a little teeny piece of land that touches Hazelwood. And those people advertise that they can have motorhome, RV parking, trailer parking, and plenty of parking below. Well, in front of their place, they have maybe room for 1.5 cars or 2 small ones. And of course, everybody comes up Hazelwood into an undeveloped back area on their property, and they come in, and everybody has to back in and turn around on all of our driveways. So our feeling, and I speak for 3 of the 5 cabin owners, 3 of us have changed our driveways because one of the guys has his driveways ruined. We don't know who did it, and my driveway has been ruined. We don't know who did it because we aren't there all the time. So when the party advertises something and we can't do anything to stop it, and it's not right, and the neighbors, when we want to unload something and come up, we can't get out of our driveway because there's a trailer park. Oh, well, we'll be gone in a few minutes. Or when we aren't there, they automatically park because it's more convenient in our driveways. Well, we thought we had some private property rights. We thought we owned our property, but the neighbor is out of the area, and it's okay with them to have parking below, and nobody monitors these people. Sometimes the renters change 3 times a week. And they've all been nice, and I don't have any problem with people renting. But this ordinance you're looking at has to have some nibble or some bite in there to protect the property owner from abuse from the renters that unknowingly are abusing your property, and it's an ongoing thing. And we don't want to go up there and fight the renters. We want to go up and enjoy ourselves. We want them to have a good time too. So whatever you come up with, your renting deal is fine, but stick something in it to protect the property owner right now. Like make it a remedy would be to have the renters not encroach on private property, private driveways. It just says something so they know. We have sound ordinances and all other kinds of ordinances that can be protected. And so if they're parking in the road, we have to call up a highway patrol. If they're on your property, the highway patrol won't do it. We have to call the sheriff. So there's 2 different calls we have to make. So it's something to think about, and there are other people that have chains across their driveways, and they have to post it, and the rental people come up to have a good time. And the property
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. My daughter has a place in Cayucas, and they have to have permits to do each, or they're limited. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Brad Ditton. I have an office at 54299 North Shore Road at Bass Lake. I'm in support of, first of all, the 2 issues here: building a storage shed on the property prior to a residential residence being built, so that people can move their goods, build a building, move their goods from LA here, their tools, and then be able to use their tools when they build their house on their property. Until now, that hasn't been possible, and it's been a problem. So that needs to be approved, I believe. Secondly, I'm in support of short-term vacation rentals. I wholeheartedly agree with Gary and what Kathy said and Mr. Stillman, who was just here. Maybe it is time for a little bit of a change. Nobody likes change, but the only thing constant is change. And maybe it's time now to take a look, as Mariposa does, and maybe the last thing you want to do is load the staff down with more things to do, but we do a lot of business in Mariposa County, and they have a TOT ordinance there. And if somebody has a house and they want to have it as a TOT house in Mariposa, you go through a checklist. They look at parking, septic, the detectors, and particularly if somebody builds a home that's intended for 5 residents, 5 individuals, and then they advertise it as a vacation rental for 12, then the county will not give you a permit until you increase the septic capability of that house, because we know we're going to get called at 3 in the morning when it fails because it's insufficient for the new use. So maybe it's time that we have a checklist, and just like Mariposa County, that we go through, say this is what it takes for every home to pass a safety inspection. Stairways, for example, the widths of stairways. So, as I say, maybe we can plagiarize Mariposa County because they've done a lot of work already. The Sierra Star reported there's 5 million resident tourists that come through the area, $687 million generated, support 7,850 jobs. I read that letter from the hotel people. Sounded like a lot of crybaby to me. You know, Airbnb and Flipkey, HomeAway, VRBO have moved the cheese, and now the hotel people are going to have to figure out how to live with it. And by the way, so are real estate brokers, because Zillow and Redfin now are going in a direction that you don't need a broker anymore. You can call Zillow or Redfin. I'm not saying you'll get good service, but you can buy a house through them with no real estate individual, so that's maybe not that bad of a deal. But we're having to adjust with that also. So just want to make a point that vacation rentals are generally better cared for than long-term rentals. They expect us when somebody shows up that house is in good shape. Some people are paying $200 a night, some pay $1,400 a night for a home. So I'm respectfully requesting that you approve the sheds, storage sheds, and also the vacation rentals with the provision maybe that we can have a checklist so that everybody has a safe house, because Kathy and her staff see many houses that don't qualify, and we will not manage them until they get up to our standard in terms of insurance and safety inspections. Thanks.
Quite well taken.
Hi, Rhonda Salisbury with Visit Yosemite Madera County, your Visitors Bureau, and we are in support of this amendment. But we do agree with, a lot of things that were said, and Kathy made some great points, and we are already working with the tax collector's office with Madera County to see how we can help this industry, either by policing itself or with some more ordinances. I know there's already noise ordinance in place and things like that, and as a neighbor, I should be responsible to I would be responsible to the person who isn't there. I would want to know their address, their name, and their phone number, and say, hey, you guys have people abusing your property. But with that being said, we are willing to work with, if there's any special committees set up or anything, we're willing to work with this. We don't want our neighbors or our guests being abused or abusive. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Marie Iden, and I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to talk. I'll start out with, I am the elephant in the room. I'm the one that started all this because I got sued by my neighbors because I have a vacation rental. First of all, I'm a real estate broker. Next year I'll have my license for 40 years, so I know the rules. I worked for Steve Welch at Bass Lake Realty for 14 years before I went to Keller Williams. Was in the same room with the people coming in for vacation rentals. So when I wanted to have a vacation rental, before I did anything, I went and got a business license, and then I had to applied for one, and then I had to be approved at planning, and then go to the tax collectors and get signed up for the transfer occupancy tax. Did all that. Also called my insurance company, changed it to cover a vacation rental. I already have, it was a rental house even before this, so anytime we have a rental house, we have to make sure it's got carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors and all that. And we certainly saw in Oakhurst what can happen without a carbon monoxide detector. That's something all agents are very aware of. So we're there, we're doing that, and making sure that the property is safe. Anybody who owns a vacation rental has an investment in it, and the last thing you want to do is have somebody get hurt and you lose your house because you weren't smart about making sure it's safe. So do all that. Still got sued. was served on November 11th, my husband's birthday. We were having a party, and had never heard from anybody in our neighborhood that they were having a problem with our vacation rental. As a matter of fact, it's half a mile and over the road, over the hill from the people who are suing us. But we're still sued. So we're Thursday and Friday, I spent all day with Judge Jopley and Zirkovich, following through on this. They have made a wonderful offer to stop this lawsuit for us on Thursday. It was a settlement conference. If we and the other family are being sued, pay them $35,000, they'll drop the suit against us for having a vacation rental that meets all of Madera County requirements. So that's, like I say, I'm the elephant in the room. This is a lot about what this is about. So I can also tell you I am selling real estate very successfully, and one of the things that's driving the sales up here right now are vacation rentals. We have people that have heard about this, and Brad, Kathy, Steve Welch, Carol Severe will tell you that we have a lot of people coming in, and they're not going to manage their own rentals. They're going to have them managed. These are professionals. They know what it takes to have a safe rental and what it takes to rent out to people to do that. The other thing is, it's ridiculous to talk about noise and all in the cars and that stuff. We have ordinances that address that. Call your sheriff, call CAL FIRE, we can do that. So as far as, imposing more regulations on something that's an overlay of what's already there, it's not needed. It's there. We can do it. Anyway, that's kind of my whole shtick on that, and I do appreciate you looking at it. Yes, sir? I'm not. Okay, bye.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, we're going to close the public hearing.
Oh, I haven't yet. No, I'm sorry.
No, just wait.
We'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for comments.
Thank you.
And decision.
Yeah, I'm totally for these. I think that it's a big benefit for Madera County. And my team meeting, we discussed it in length last Friday. And one of the things that we did come up with is that, in which a few of them today spoke about that, we need to maybe look at how our ordinance is written. Like for bed and breakfast, they have to get a CUP. They also have to be on a main thoroughfare and in tourist areas. Well, we all decided tourist areas are usually usually 145 heading up is a tourist area, I think. All eastern Madera County is. And if you want to expand it, I think the whole county is actually an ag community, and we got our dinosaur museum down here and everything else. So where you draw that line. But I just think that and also when you do a CUP, you also trigger ADA, fire sprinklers, and the health and safety and welfare of everybody. So we just need to, I think, further define all this, and we have look at the outer area owners that we have that checklist somebody said that POSA has. I think that's a great idea, because when my kids got the permit to the business license to have that for my ex-wife and my property, there wasn't a whole bunch of stuff on there. Maybe that we could, whatever we do when we pass or don't pass this today, direct staff to just look at the rest of this stuff and see if there's any things that on the bed and breakfast and the Airbnbs and all those other lists that they have, and just see if there's some other type of plan that we could use to make it safer for our public. I mean, that's bottom line, what we got to look at. So whoever makes the motion or whatever do it, I think that we should just do something like that to see if our ordinance needs to be revised, updated. I mean, the bed and breakfast ordinance has been in for years, hasn't been changed. This ordinance we're talking about right now, the one sentence we're changing, except for the shops and garages and stuff adding to it, it's been in place for years. It's not like we're redoing this. It's not like we're having a whole new ordinance, where some people have thought that. It is not. Just because we change that one line does not mean if we vote or not against it or not against that one line, this is already in place. They can do these. It's a given. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
I just, so I don't know if what you're saying, Tom, is that we would make a CUP for every short-term vacation rental?
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying maybe our CUP is too strict for bed and breakfasts. I don't know, because when they put that in years ago, they have it on one of the main lines in there says on main thoroughfares, they have to be on main thoroughfares or in tourist areas.
And this was because we didn't have short-term rentals specifically spelled out, right? We were just looking at trying to make bed and breakfast fit, but bed and breakfast isn't exactly what this was. Is that
that is correct? Yeah, and if I may, just for a moment to address some of the comments we've heard, and specifically I'll hit Mr. Boyce's comments in regards to any purpose for any purpose. That language has been stricken from this ordinance for consideration. That was at the board's direction that we remove that language about being rented for any purpose. A lot of good points.
Some more points after that if you're going to, Max, just because my name came off. But so you can go ahead and answer.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, speak to it in generality, right? This is a clarification of the historical practice and what's been done, right? We have almost 400 TOT parcels within Madera County as of today, and that number is changing as Treasurer Tax Collector's Office and our office works together as part of the software that the board authorized to go out and find out how many of these we have, right? This is simply codifying and defining the historical practice of the county when dealing with short-term Airbnb. Supervisor Frazier, you're 100% accurate, right? Previously, our code didn't address specifically Airbnb, so it was the practice and the policy to look at those as a permitted use. I've heard a lot about...
I think it's also important to note that we're not targeting Airbnb or VRBO. That it's nowhere in here. Is it spelled out in the ordinance that we're allowing Airbnb or VRBO? We're talking about short-term vacation rentals. How you go about marketing your short-term vacation rental is up to you, right? This is not allowing Airbnb. This is not allowing VRBO. This is not specifically calling out and saying Bass Lake Realty can. It's not Denton Realty. No. This is just saying short-term rental and defining that on its own, regardless of the internet, regardless of a 4,000 person book that we send out. Yep. So the marketing has nothing to do with it. So it continues. It's like Airbnb and VRBO is like I've heard renting out to frat houses, and that everybody that goes onto Airbnb and VRBO is somehow a worse person than if they went through a realtor. We just need to separate that out. We're not talking about the internet. We're not talking about marketing. We're talking about short-term rentals and what people have in regards to their property rights. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely, and as I stated last week, right, this has been ongoing for decades, the rental of an individual's home for vacation purposes. Now, there may have been, and there may be several, but I can say to the code enforcement side of things and the planning department, we've had an issue or complaints on 3 homes that I can recall, and in my 12 years here at the county, 3 homes, and in each one of those we took it very serious. We sent code enforcement officers up multiple times to investigate those and found no complaints. That's not to say that if this ordinance is adopted as is and we get complaint after complaint, right, we have the ability to revoke and remove an individual's business license to operate if they continually violate county codes, whether it's the zoning ordinance, noise ordinance, junk and debris, trash. We have the authority to revoke that business license. And we've heard a lot about that somehow we're approving hotels and massive commercial development within these residential
areas. That is not accurate, in my opinion. These are single-family homes that are being rented as single-family homes. There may be a commercial transaction and a use of that, but it isn't changing the nature of the property or the business that's occurring. It's a home being rented as a home. And that's the position as your planning director for these, right? We wouldn't be here before the board to clarify and request the adoption if we had numerous complaints and violations, right? That being said, a lot of good points were brought up, and I don't disagree with that. And I believe that those can be handled through the issuance of a business license. We require proof of insurance on outdoor event permits. We require a number of things. And in fact, a big shout out and appreciation to the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office, right? We've been working hand in hand with that office, moving through this process. We've been going back and forth. We're looking at how we can better capture that TOT. We're already including that TOT registration packet, and we will be as a part of the business license application, so that when an individual comes in to get a license, they'll also be handed that registration for their TOT and required to fill that out at our office and turned into us, which then gets sent to Tracy's office. So that coordination's occurring. It continues to occur. And as we often say, right, these are living documents. Ordinances can be changed. If there's issues with this, we'll be back before this board expeditiously to try to address those. But the issues as far as insurance and smoke detectors and all of those things, in my opinion, could be handled through the issuance of a business license, similar to what Mariposa County does. They don't require any special permitting as far as I'm aware, and we've discussed that with them recently. And as I stated last week, Merced and Fresno County have no requirements. You don't even need a license, a business license.
Their checklist is at the business license portion, or wherever you can do that?
Yes. Now, as far specifically on the Mariposa, there isn't a public hearing process or anything like that, but they do have some requirements and guidelines there, and we can certainly look at that. But I believe that we have the opportunity to handle that through our business license application
packet.
packet.
Suggestion,
And then I have another question that you can answer. Is Bass Lake zoning different? Is there, right, am I correct that if you have your cabin there, that's zoned residential, correct?
Correct.
So when we're saying we'll just put it all into one area, Bass Lake zoning is the same as the zoning in the Rolling Hills. In the ranchos, we're just... people are just making an assumption that that's where it's supposed to be, just because tourists do go there, and so it is.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's residentially zoned in Bass Lake. It may be zoned for smaller parcel sizes than, say, Madera Ranchos or Rolling Hills, but they are residentially zoned. And yes, I would say the majority of the short-term rentals that we see are certainly in the eastern Madera County area. But that's not to say that we don't have them on the outskirts of the city of Madera. We do, and the Ranchos and Fairmead and Chowchilla, they are spread throughout the county. Yes, the majority are in eastern, but they range from all over the county.
And that's because it's market driven. People are going to go where people are going to choose where they utilize a short-term rental. So it leads into, are we required through the business license? Do we look at and see, in terms of truth in advertising? Mr. Stillman had brought up, that they said there's ample parking when there's only 1.5. Are we able to track that? If someone says, lovely cottage near Bass Lake, and it's, 45 minutes away, people aren't trekking with their kids in their floaty tubes 45 minutes. Is there a way to police the truth in advertising where, as soon as they hit eastern Madera County, not everything is Bass Lake. And not everybody wants to stay at Bass Lake either.
Red, why don't we let Dave Rogers speak?
Well, I'm asking if there's the ability to...
Well, I think he's already answered it about 5 times.
To police the truth in advertising, Max?
We can't do that. It's not our business.
That's the answer I'm looking for from staff.
No, we cannot, it's a freedom of speech.
For the question and hopefully the answer, so.
Yeah, so we can.
Yeah, I think that we do need to add some provisions in there later on, maybe get a committee together and develop a standard that I think is important because, and you made a comment that really sticks in my mind, and it is important, and that is that we're not changing the use of these parcels when they're being leased out as a single-family residence. That is a fact. The difference comes if somebody rents the single-family residence and has 15 families in there. That would be a different use of property. I'm not saying anybody's doing that, but so that's an important thought. And and I think it was pointed out by Brad that if the sewer is beginning to fail because they have 5 families or 4 families in there or whatever, that is a problem, and that is a violation of the code of uses, and that's why we have land use planning. But I don't think we need to get too onerous in this thing and have people go for CUPs. But I do think we need to include that provision in our permitting process, as it's already been. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done in other counties successfully, and we can take those other counties' uses and form a committee of some realtors and some landowners that are concerned, and have the input and bring it back to us and reincorporate that into our ordinance. I don't see a problem with doing that.
Are we ready for a motion?
I am.
Okay.
I move that we approve and adopt this ordinance change.
Okay. I'll second.
We have a first and second. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Abstain.
Vote passes 3-0, 1 abstaining, 1 absent.
Okay.
Let's go to lunch. Come back when?
1:30, 15 to 2. Okay. Come back 15 to 2.
Item 7D, Board of Directors, Special Districts, County Service Area, Number 19, Rolling Hills Public Works Department. Discussion and direction from the Board of Supervisors regarding the proposed privatization of CSA 19 Rolling Hills.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So this item here is brought to you for guidance from your board. What we're doing is possible privatization of SA 19, Rolling Hills. Rolling Hills is located in District 1 off of Highway 41. We've gotten numerous requests from the Homeowners Association to possibly privatize that system. So we're here for direction and answer any questions from your board.
Obviously, this, I think what is good, I think that the residents somewhat trust us because they've been asking and knowing that we can hopefully move forward with this. I think it's important to look at the options that we have. I think as members of the board that oversees these districts is giving them those options and giving them the information that they need. We have the Bartle wells coming out so they can see it side by side and know what's the best option for their area. I think privatization is a good option for them. I think it's going to be a good option for a lot of the different districts. This one in particular, especially where it's going to be at, and so looking at it myself and doing a lot of the due diligence, I think we absolutely need to move forward with this and look at the privatization. We've had county council looking over some of the bond documents, seeing what it would take to either dissolve the district or keep the district. How do we work it out? But as far as I'm concerned, this is something that needs to be done, and hopefully can become a model in the future for other districts that need it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to just clarify that the county provides road maintenance and maintains the water system. And so I think it can be a little misleading if we say privatization of the entire CSA, because the county would continue to maintain the road system in that assessment district. And so really staff is coming for direction with regards to possibly privatizing the water system.
The water system, yeah.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. This is so important that we start looking at this, because I think that's about the way we should be going with some of these districts that don't trust us for one thing, but they can make their own decisions without a government entity tell them how, when, or what it is. And the second thing is that I just got a notice that they evacuated Mariposa, and it's now 19,600 acres in 2.5 days of fire. It's just going crazy. They went through Mount Bullion like it was sitting still, they said. So anyway.
I think what we're talking about here, I've heard the rest of the, if I'm listening to the rest of the supervisor, I think that's been one of our common goals. Privatizing all these water systems, if possible. I never thought it would happen. I still have my doubts, but if it can happen, we should do everything in our power to do so, but do it appropriately. Supervisor Fraser?
Yeah, I think we had part of this discussion earlier where we've fallen behind on a lot of rates because the 218 process is cumbersome. It's sometimes the political will is not there to raise rates, whether it's for whatever reason. A lot of them have stayed stagnant, and we haven't been able to keep up and actually pay for for what the costs are, the true cost of these districts are, and and that's why doing in my due diligence is looking at the company. Can that company or whoever it goes to, can they keep up with the rates? Do they have a track record of running these systems and running these systems well? Because at the end of the day, even if we're not running the special district and we put them into the hands of a company that can't do the job, there still are constituents that we have to take care of and make sure that we're going to bat for them. There's going to be times probably that the residents will come forward to us if they're going to a PUC hearing to raise rates. They'll probably come to us and ask us to write letters on their behalf. So we're not getting out of it completely. I think we still have a responsibility to the residents and make sure that they're done correctly. And right now, the way this is going, I think this is the correct way to do this. But we don't want to keep getting into these places where we fall behind in terms of what the rates that we're charging, and we can't get 218s passed. And it's been a broken system.
And like you said, this is something that was discussed with the homeowners association of that district. We actually met with Calwater in the field. Our books have been open to them, giving them all information about the district so that they can have a good perspective of what they can do for that district as well if they take it over.
Them or anybody else.
We've got other ones.
Anybody else? Let's take it out to the public.
Dale Drosman, Fresno County resident, part-time resident of Rolling Hills. Some of the topics you guys were talking about don't really fit Rolling Hills. I don't think we have ever turned down a 218 election, and we had a but it's a unique district. We took out a multi-million-dollar bond to fix it up. We're at a point now where we have no choice. We have to either do another multi-million-dollar bond and have the county go in and see what they can do about fixing it up, or we can privatize. We looked at purchasing it ourselves with the issues with the debt. Department of Water Resources is frowning on small districts, and they're trying to consolidate them. LAFCO is frowning on small districts. They're trying to privatize them. At the last meeting, there were no county people or no water resources people there. It was just the association meeting. We discussed a lot of the issues. Now, I'm speaking for myself here, just nobody else. I'm not on the board. Discussed a lot of the issues, and towards the end of the meeting, it was asked how many people want to go with Calwater or something like Calwater. It was unanimous. Everybody wanted to go. Calwater, I understand, has already been negotiating with you or conferring with you. We haven't found anything that's comparable to them as far as having the resources that it will take to put it in shape, and they promised to get us in top shape and then set the rates from there. They should be comparable with what. I'm trying to get a hold of a copy of the rate study. I can't get it. They said it's not done yet.
It's still in draft form.
So close. So anyway, I'm an advocate for Calwater that they take over the district. One sticking point with some of the residents is the fire station community center. I've been communicating with the Bill Williams with Calwater, and I think they would be amenable to leasing the fire station back to us for $1 a year. So I would ask that you do that in your negotiations with them. We understand that though we can tell you what we would like and we can advise, we have no power in the matter. It'll be the board making the decision and doing the negotiations. So if you would look towards that, that would leave us with our fire station community center that was built by the residents. And we'd like to see it happen as soon as possible.
Me too, on both of those things.
And get a copy of the rate study to me when you can. even in draft form. I can read around the draft notes.
I can tell you, having read the draft, it's probably not going to change your mind anything.
But it might help change other people's minds. Doubtful, but yeah.
We'll bring it back to the board for directions.
I move that we go forward with looking into privatization of CSA 19.
Second.
First and second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Chairman, I'm not sure, what Mr. Josen's coming to the stand to say, but there's no action item. And certainly the better practice is to not make a motion when it's discussion and direction. There's nothing that prohibits it, but there's an argument that says the public wouldn't know that you were possibly going to take action. But sometimes directions can be made in a motion as well, because it don't necessarily.
Motion to direct.
Yeah.
I think that's my motion was.
Right. I just felt somebody was coming up to the podium, so I wanted to address it.
The other thing is it wouldn't be privatizing all of CSA 19. Eventually, we would like to take over, the association would like to take over the operation of the road maintenance.
I don't even know if you want to, because of the pre-Prop 13 status, which brings back a portion of the property taxes which has been used in the past to go towards the water infrastructure, but without the water infrastructure to take care of that, money could then go towards the roads, is my understanding.
Right. Well, we were looking at, the board was looking at the potential of assessments for road and get it up to where we could actually afford to fix the roads. The way it is now, with what's coming in, we'll get the last road fixed in about 80 years. So, it's not workable the way it is, but we're just looking right now at privatizing the water.
That's what the discussion was.
Supervisor, we can look into the road issue at a later time. But for now...
right now we're only talking about, and that's all it's agenda.
Correct. And you are, it's accurate that all the money is going to the water.
Just say what you're going to...
Yeah, I move to give staff direction to move forward with privatization of the water infrastructure system.
That's good.
And I'll second that.
We have first, second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bill passes 4-0, one absent.
Thank you, guys.
Big step.
I got another announcement. This has come from CAL FIRE. Ditwater Weiler Fire. Evacuation orders, Highway 140 from East Wetlock to Highway 49 South, both sides of the road. This includes the town of Mariposa. They moved the shelter, Red Cross shelters, from over there to actually in Oakhurst to the Free Church located on 50443 Schoolhouse Road, Oakhurst.
Getting very serious. Okay.
Okay, 7E, the Board of Supervisors shall convene as the Board of Directors of County Groundwater Sustainability Agencies. 7E, Board of Directors of Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera County Chowchilla Sub-Basin Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with the Chowchilla Water District Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the Board of Directors for the Chowchilla Groundwater Sustainability Agency. This is the first round of groundwater agency meetings that we're having, so it's a new day and it's exciting. Our first item is an MOU that we've negotiated with the Chowchilla Water District Groundwater Sustainability Agency. We have done several of these. It is essentially an agreement to work together in putting together a groundwater sustainability plan, to collaborate and cooperate together, and to work on stakeholder outreach. The language is not any different than those that we have negotiated in the past, and I look for a direction from the board as to whether we should accept this MOU.
I'm surprised nobody's here from there. Like I said, you must have done a good job, huh?
Well, we talk to them a lot.
Either way, any comment from the public? If not, we'll bring it back to the board for action. Dave?
Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, I'll move we approve.
Second.
First and second, roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent. 7F, Board of Directors of Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera County, Chowchilla Sub-Basin Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and consideration of approval to adopt a resolution in support of a grant application to the State Department of Water Resources for the Chowchilla Sub-Basin.
Good afternoon. Today we're looking at a resolution that allows the county to be the applicant for the next round of grant funding under Proposition 1. This grant funding will be geared toward assisting in writing groundwater sustainability plans. The maximum amount of money available is $1.5 million, but I do want to point out that there is a 50% cost share. So if we were to accept $1.5 million in grant funding, we would have to also come up with that amount of money. I do want to also mention for the public that we are required to write these plans. They will cost money, and the state is trying to help us financially. In the Chowchilla Sub-Basin, we're not in it by ourselves. There are three GSAs in place now. Merced County has a small GSA, the Chowchilla Water District, and the City of Chowchilla have a GSA, and so does the county. We do, as far as acreage, come in second in that sub-basin, and so just as a round number, if writing the plan for the Chowchilla Sub-Basin costs $1 million after we receive grant funding and we calculate what our share would be based on acreage, we would be looking at about $200,000 total to participate in the writing of that plan. Again, we are required to do so. The thing that we have going for us is that the resolution you have before you today is in support of the county being the applicant, which allows us to develop the scope of work, and we are in agreement in the Chowchilla Sub-Basin that we're trying to keep costs down. So it is nice to be in the driver's seat and to be able to have some say in how that plan is written with our partners. So with that, I seek your approval of this resolution so we can apply for additional grant funding.
I move to approve. Take it out to the public. No comment from public. Bring it back. Move to approve.
Second.
You got it.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent. Seven G, Board of Directors of Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera County, Chowchilla Sub-Basin Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and direction to staff to implement a Sustainable Groundwater Management Act stakeholder outreach program for the Chowchilla Sub-Basin.
Thank you. I'm only going to give this presentation one time, and I'm going to address all three sub-basins so that we don't have to do it three times. But the staff recommendation is covered for each sub-basin. You can provide direction, obviously, as to how you want to handle each sub-basin, but it'll be covered here. So just as a reminder where we are in the process, we have participated in the first round of Prop 1 grant funding and distressed basins grant that we're working under, and we have completed a technical memo for both the Chowchilla Sub-Basin and the Madera Sub-Basin that tells us what data we have and where we are and what data we need to write groundwater sustainability plans. So we are now poised to start writing those plans, and as part of that process, we are required to have a stakeholder outreach plan. We thought that it would be a good idea to have a formal process for that, and speaking with several of the leaders of this board, and so that's what this recommendation is today.
Move to approve.
Second.
We'll take it out to the public first.
She has a presentation, right?
I do.
She does. Go ahead and you can do the presentation. I didn't mean to stop you.
Oh, that's okay. I'll run through it. So today what we're looking at is, like I mentioned, we need to have a formal process. I'll be seeking direction on the structure of the program, and also seeking direction on who would like to be in the leadership roles for each of the three sub-basins. And I'll provide you with information that will help you make that decision. Again, just as a refresher, we have three groundwater sustainability agencies. As you can see in the Chowchilla Sub-Basin, we are at almost 60,000 acres. The Madera Sub-Basin, we are the largest groundwater sustainability agency. And in Delta Mendota, the Delta Mendota subbasin is very, very large on the west side spans many counties, and our GSA acreage is only about 1,500 acres. And I do want to note, while we're looking at the Delta Mendota subbasin, that when we go to talk about stakeholder outreach, private landowners there are all agricultural. There's some government properties in there, but they're mostly agricultural. Here's a map that we've seen before. I just put it in here in case we need to refer back to it. Who are our stakeholders? So when we filed our paperwork, we were required to identify what stakeholder groups were in the different areas. And so this is a list. 1 through 5 are the ones that we have identified: agricultural users, residents, public water systems. That includes mutual water companies as well, disadvantaged communities, Native American tribes, and there may be others that come forth as we move forward in this process. So I didn't want to leave anybody out there. I do want to thank our friends from Self-Help Enterprises and from Farm Bureau for being so patient and waiting to comment on this item. They are in the audience, and they've been waiting all day, so thank you for that. So here's the staff recommendation. So the goals and objectives can be changed. These are just some thoughts. We will form advisory committees, one in each sub-basin for each GSA. They'll provide input as we draft our groundwater sustainability plans, and they also will help us identify members of their stakeholder communities who need to be informed. They will outreach to the members of their stakeholder committees and communicate the facts, the truth about what's happening with the groundwater sustainability plan and how decisions are being made and what the true data is that we're working with. And then we will also ask them to, at times, represent Madera County as a member of our advisory committee as spokespersons to inform the public on the process. The way that we propose structuring these committees is that each member of this board of directors will have the opportunity to appoint one member in each of the GSA advisory committees. So 5 seats will be appointed by one of the members of this body. I do think that the committees will be larger than 5 seats in some instances, and those additional seats can be filled through a different appointment process, but I think that each one of these, a member of this board should be able to pick someone to appoint. I do think it's important with these advisory committees that we look at what happens to them, when we submit our groundwater sustainability plan. These advisory committees are put together to advise the process, and so I wanted to mention that there'll be a time when the groundwater sustainability plan is submitted to the state, and the work is, at that time, we've hit a milestone, and we're not finished. We then have to implement the plan, but I wanted to leave an opportunity for this body to look at what those committees do and to either change their roles and responsibilities, goals and objectives, or to terminate those committees if needed. Suggested structure of these stakeholder committees. I don't know exactly what they would vote on. I think they're going to provide more advisory, it's going to be more of an advisory role. However, it might be important to have odd numbers in case there is a need for a vote. So that's why I suggest that 5, 7, 9, or 11 representatives per committee would be appropriate. I think 11 is a manageable number, and some subbasins are very large, like the Madera subbasin. There is a lot of ground to cover and a lot of stakeholders. At a minimum, probably 5 stakeholders would be appropriate. And then, as I mentioned, the 5 stakeholders that would be appointed by this body, one of the things that we will need to make sure that we do is that we include at least one member from each of the stakeholder groups that we identified in the first list. And if those are not covered by the appointments made by this body, then additional appointments can be made to make sure that we're covering all of the stakeholders that are required in each subbasin. Is this making sense? Okay. Hope it's not too complicated.
It is complicated.
Yeah. It can be. So here's the process, the proposed process. The first step would be to circulate applications with a questionnaire. Anybody can apply to be on these advisory committees. It's open to the public. These applications can be made available through many different ways and different groups. I propose that we have those applications available August 4th of this year, and that we collect them on August 31st of this year. Secondly, candidates will be, the applications and questionnaires will be reviewed, and candidates will be selected to be appointed to each of the advisory committees. Again, each of the 5 supervisors can appoint one member to start. stakeholder groups will all be represented, and any of the remaining seats will be filled at large. And then at that time, I think it's important to establish some rules of order and a process for replacing members, should someone decide not to be on the advisory committee. And the third step would be to set regularly scheduled meetings. These meetings would be open to the public, and they would be coordinated with the groundwater sustainability development. So they would be directly involved and informed in how that process is going. And these committees would report to the Groundwater Sustainability Boards of Directors on a regular basis, either through the chairman who sits on these boards or through members of the committee. So that's the first staff recommendation for how we structure the committees. And then if you would like to give direction on whether you like that idea or ask questions, that would be great. Because the next step is I think that we need to look at who is going to chair these committees in each of the sub-basins so that we can get this work moving. So I don't know what the pleasure of the chairman is, if you want to ask questions or if you'd like for me to continue.
We have a motion and a second before?
Yeah. But there's, I think, some clarification she's going to need.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So you're asking to designate the chairman and alternates for these individual oversight committees?
Well, the first thing I'm asking is for direction on the way that I've proposed that we structure the committees, if that makes sense, if there are any questions.
And you think 11 is manageable?
That's up to you.
No, you think it's manageable, so more input is probably better than less, except for when we're in 1,500 acres in the Delta Mendota, finding enough people to fill that within that area is probably going to be fairly difficult.
Yes. So for comparison's sake, the Delta Mendota subbasin only has 10 private landowners.
Right.
So probably a committee.
So we can't do 11 because all 10.
11, right?
No. So and then are we going to look at? I think these are the questions we have to have. So if we all appoint somebody, is that person appointed to each of the 3 different subbasins?
Well, no. I think you would appoint somebody per subbasin. So you would have one appointment for the Chowchilla, one for the Delta Mendota, and one for the Madera, as you all would.
I'm just trying to figure out the rules. So they would probably live in the subbasin or have a vested interest in the sub-basin.
Yes.
Would probably be the best way to do it.
And there would be an application process, so we would advertise that, and then folks could send their information in to be evaluated to be appointed on those committees.
So I would think in the Chowchilla we could probably find between 9 and 11, the Madera sub-basin between 9 and 11, and the Delta Mendota, depending on who it's going to be. I mean, it could be 3 to 5.
Exactly. It could be, yeah.
County Council?
Yeah.
I would just like to add, and you might already know this, Ms. Berry, but any sort of committee formed by this board would be subject to the Brown Act, and that's one thing to consider in terms of managing the committee. So a committee created by formal action by this body, even if it's just advisory, would be subject to the Brown Act. There's exceptions to that. It's an ad hoc committee, but since none of the supervisors would be on that committee, it wouldn't apply.
Well, so I was going to suggest that at least one supervisor is the chair of each of these committees. So if that would change the structure of the committee, I don't know if it would.
Would that be an ad hoc committee or a Brown Act?
Well, I was going to suggest that we have one of the members of this body sit as the chairperson for the committees. Yeah, chairman and an alternate. That's the next item that I have. No, that's okay. That's okay. So would that change the Brown Act requirement, or should we get back to that? Okay, get back to it. Okay. So I wanted to.
Would it be the supervisor of record, or we could choose that, or would that be the?
Right. I think what I'm about to show you will help you make that decision. So what we did was we went ahead and looked at how much acreage in each of your supervisorial districts is also in a groundwater sustainability agency. So a couple of you have more than one groundwater sustainability agency that you cover through your supervisorial district. And we also divided we picked out the agricultural acreage because this is going to be one of our main stakeholder groups. So just so you don't have to do it with your own eyes, I went ahead and ranked them for you. And the next slide shows District 1 has the most amount of acreage in general, followed by District 2, 5, and then District 3, 4, and then 3. And then if you look to the far right, I've ranked which sub-basin you have the most acreage in. Okay.
You got you outflanked there. Huh? I told Macri I'm outflanked.
It's so hard being District 1. You have to deal with so much.
So I don't know if you want me to make a recommendation about who could chair them based on acreage. I can do that. But or would you like to volunteer?
Me saying that is, I was part of the formation committee for the Madera Subbasin, as Supervisor Rogers was for the Chowchilla Subbasin. We have right now, the chairman has, we have designations to that as part of the list. I don't know if it just follows that, or because our list of appointments, on that appointment list, I'm still the designated supervisor for the Madera Subbasin GSA formation committee.
Right. So this is what I was going to suggest. I was going to suggest that Supervisor Frazier be the chairman for the Madera Subbasin, and that the alternate, it could be someone that you choose because many of you represent the Madera Subbasin. For the Chowchilla Subbasin, I was going to suggest that Supervisor Rogers be the chairman for the Chowchilla Subbasin, and the alternate be Supervisor Wheeler, because based on acreage, you two have the most acreage in that subbasin. The Delta Mendota Subbasin, only Frazier or Supervisor Frazier or Supervisor Rogers have any acreage in there, but you would be leaving out Rodriguez and Poitras. So I don't know if Chairman Rodriguez, if you're interested in.
Yeah. That's for sure.
I'm willing to do it if the board would want me to on that. Would that take away would that be my appointment to or could I still appoint somebody?
Yes.
Still?
I mean, that would be my suggestion, unless council has a different idea. I'm suggesting something that's not legal. But yeah, that would be my suggestion.
I was just wanted to bring into the discussion the Brown Act implications, and since you'll be managing 3 of these committees. So just to answer the question posed earlier, it can be one exception to these types of committees being subject to the Brown Act is an ad hoc committee, as long as there's less than a quorum of the supervisors that are on the committee. So in this case, it would only be 1. It'd be less than a quorum. But there are 4 rules that apply to make them truly ad hoc. One is the committee must be purely an advisory committee with no decision-making power. And that's what you reference as this committee having just advisory power. Number 2, the committee must be composed solely of less than a quorum of members of the supervisors, and we just talked about that. Number 3, the committee must not have a continuing subject matter jurisdiction. And what you talked about earlier was, at a minimum, these committees would be maintained through 2020, so that's 3 years. I didn't need to take the time to do the math, but I didn't want to get it wrong. But that's 3 years. So arguably, I mean, I'd have to do a little more research. But that doesn't stop you from getting direction from the board here today, but whether that would constitute continuing subject matter jurisdiction of 3 years if there's anything that kind of talks about that. And the last one is the committee must not have a meeting scheduled fixed by formal action of the board.
Okay. I don't see us. I don't see us having a problem with those, except for the third that you might want to research about the continuing subject matter.
Yeah. Just to make it clear, we're not opposed to complying with the Brown Act, but our problem is that it's a financial burden in posting, time burden, all the things that are involved in Brown Act create a big issue for staff. So I just want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm. Well, and once we file our notice of intent to start writing a groundwater sustainability plan, when we have discussions regarding our groundwater sustainability plan, there are noticing requirements under the groundwater sustainability agencies anyway.
Right. And we wouldn't be forming those plans. We'd only be advisory in those circumstances.
The committees would only be advisory. That's correct. Mm-hmm. It would be a formal process that we can point to say we did create an ad hoc committee where folks could come and give, not only we outreach, but they could engage us and give their ideas.
Yeah, and we're not opposed to the public coming and inputting at all in those situations. In fact, the more help, the better. I encourage people to get involved. Multiplicity of ideas.
I'm good with the pleasure of the board.
Yeah. When I make my motion, I'd like to include the suggested chairmanships in that. Okay, I'll move to approve with the suggested chairmanships.
Second. Are we taking all three of these as one, or do we need to take them?
This is really just the Chowchilla item, but.
So we can take them all.
So the Chowchilla recommendation was to have Supervisor Rogers as the chairperson and the alternate be Supervisor Tom Wheeler.
And so that's the one that you're motioning?
I would, Chairman, I would suggest that if we're going to take formal action to make appointments from the board, that part of the direction of staff is to come back with something more formal.
Right, because that wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, because right now it's discussion and direction, and I think Julia is providing an overview of some of the ideas and that we need to put the advisory committee together and some thoughts about how best to do that. And if you think the recommendations are good, then I would really suggest a more formal action item at a future date.
Okay. I'll word my motion to that effect.
I'll say that, Max, I was going to say, it's always the chairman's prerogative to pick on these anyway, and it should go through him, all these on there. I mean, so what we can do is just pass the action, and then chairman and his crew will pick out the ones and bring it onto the agenda at a later time with all of us, just like we've done every other committee or commission or board we've been on.
Yep. Very good.
We can take her recommendations. The problem there is just getting them officially done right. So.
Is the motion okay with that?
Motion there? Is that okay?
And then,
yeah, and I second it.
Okay.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent.
is that clear as mud?
I got it. Yeah.
Clear smoke anyway.
Yeah. Mud pie.
7H, Board of Directors of Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera County, Madera Subbasin, Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and consideration of approval to adopt a resolution in support of a grant application to the State Department of Water Resources for the Madera Subbasin.
Same.
Yes. Same
Move
item.
to approve.
Second?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 3-0, 1 absent, 1 away.
Okay. I move that we approve item 7I. Good to read it.
7I, Board of Directors of Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera County, Madera Sub-Basin Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and direction to staff to implement a Sustainability Groundwater Management Act stakeholder outreach program for Madera Sub-Basin.
Same. Move to approve.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent. 7J, Board of Directors of Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera County Delta Mendota Sub-Basin Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and direction to staff to implement a Sustainability Groundwater Management Act stakeholder outreach program for the Delta Mendota Sub-Basin.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
1 second.
We need comment from the public.
Oh, yeah.
Not forthcoming?
Yep,
Proceed.
got one.
Oh, wait a minute, we have one.
Christina Beckstead, Madera County Farm Bureau. Good afternoon, Board. I, first of all, would like to thank you and commend all of you, including Julia, for the hard work on the SGMA process and moving this along. I think things are moving along very well, and coordination efforts have been really good lately. So, but I do want to commend Julia specifically on this. I know that there's been some discussions on how these stakeholder outreach comes together and who's going to be involved in it. With the letter that we had submitted several months back on the GSA, my comments would be that with the appointment, this kind of moves in that direction, whether it's bringing back the Water Commission, which was an appointed board by all of you. I think this is a good first step in doing that because there would be at least 5 appointments on there. But I would also, as Julie had mentioned, if the more the better, essentially, and consider at-large positions that include members from the different areas. So, for example, in the Madera Sub-Basin, maybe at-large positions, one from the east side, one from the west side. But also include, I would ask that the Farm Bureau be included in this, as well as self-help, and then maybe members of the DACs within each of the sub-basin. So that being said, there are other models, and I think that Julia's obviously looked at some of this, and I think the board knows of some of it, but several counties are already doing this, maybe on a different level, but I think the model is there, it's in its place, so I think it's a good step forward, and just if we can keep communicating and just if the board will be mindful of that I think that, as you said, the more people at the table, the better. And there are some people in the community or within the entire county that have the ability to reach out to certain stakeholders that maybe the county can't exactly get to. Any questions for me?
They can also help fund things, too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. I'm Abigail Solis with South Help Enterprises. Again, I also want to commend Ms. Berry for the hard work that she's been doing on SGMA. This is definitely, like what was said earlier, not a uncomplicated process. So many of you may know that South Help Enterprises provides technical assistance to many of the disadvantaged communities in Madera County, as well as a total of 9 county service area. So locally, we work with many of the DACs, and we have been working with Julia to get to this point to ensure that all of the communities that we represent are represented in this process. So we just want to support the formation of this stakeholder outreach program, and also encourage, whenever possible, to ensure that you include residents of disadvantaged communities and even just boards of disadvantaged communities. They are very capable of participating in these efforts when they are reached out to, when they are asked to be involved. So I just want to publicly state that I commend the work that you've done so far, and South Help Enterprises is here as a partner to help you ensure that you continue to do that, and we're on board to help any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they participate in every RWMG meeting too, self-help do they? Mm-hmm. And they go to some meetings we can't even go to, so.
Motion? Yeah, still there.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
Okay.
Number 8, pending legislation. I believe staff is bringing forward Assembly Bill 524. You should all have a copy of that on your dais in front of you.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Brittany Dyer, District Chief of Staff. Today in front of you, we do have a support letter for Assembly Bill 524. This bill has been authored by Bigelow and co-authored by Berryhill, and it would take the funds, the fees that PG&E was fined from the Butte Fire in 2015 and reallocate them to the SRA Tree Mortality Grant Program. That's a total of $8.3 million that we could then try to access. Are there any questions?
What's the chances that they don't put that money, if they put it in the SRA fund, some of that money they can do?
No, by default, it goes directly to the general fund of the state. So without this legislation, it will do that. This legislation is trying to redirect it.
Well, if it goes to the general fund, I'm sure it'll make its way back to Madera County.
So either way. No, in fact, it was great to have one of our local representatives be able to bring this forward, and this is an urgent matter that they're trying to get local support on.
Very good. With the new logo.
With the new logo. Thank you. Cheers.
Number 9, Supervisors and Staff Report.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, it's been a long day. I got a meeting at 2:30, so it's 5 minutes late, so.
Okay. Nothing to report, sir.
I got nothing. Nothing left.
Nothing to report, Chairman.
Nothing to report.
You know, we had a meeting, well, this would be short. We had a meeting, council meeting in Parkwood. And we had the police chief there, and he made a good presentation.
A good one?
Huh?
A good one?
It was a good meeting, yes. We had about 100 people there.
Wow.
It was outstanding. And following after that meeting, I was told, I think Betty told me today, that the police department has been very active in Parkwood. They're all over the place, over there stopping cars left and right. I suppose they do something wrong, that's why they get stopped, but they're very active over there. Some of the residents complained that they lacked police presence, sheriff presence. So the chief, the police chief, I suppose, he made it a point to have his officers circulated that community over there doing a good job. So everybody's very impressed. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I do.